who went psycho. Theodore just pulls out a cigarette so over his brother's weak excuse. Theodore lights his cigarette, asking him if he for real thinks he's gonna get out of this with an excuse that lame. The redhead just plops onto the floor and puts his head in his hands, like the massive weight of the situation is finally hitting him. While smoking, Theodore says that even though they're part of a top-tier clan, the Yu family is not gonna just chill after finding out their own family member got taken out. The younger guy struggles to get up while his older brother just stares him down. He stumbles over to his brother and just leans on him, resting his head on his shoulder. Crying, he calls out his bro's name, Theodore, my brother. He just lost his newborn kid and is basically begging for some mercy. Theodore just hits him back with an ice-cold line about how he needs to stop expecting to be treated like a baby. Scared, the younger guy hears his brother order him to go quietly to the steel cage. Totally shocked by the sentence, he begs his brother again not to lock him in the steel cage, saying over and over that it wasn't his fault. But Theodore stands firm, reminding him that he's not just the older brother, but he's also the leader of the clan, and he can't just look the other way when a member's behavior is this problematic. The younger guy gets all worked up, begging his brother to just hear him out. Theodore's patience is gone. Theodore grabs his brother by the shirt. Using some kind of superhuman strength, Theodore lifts his brother clean off the floor. The redhead looks at Theodore with a mix of anger and panic. He's so surprised his hands are shaking as he tries to break free. With one harsh move, Theodore yeets his brother across the room. He slams into the ground, making a ton of noise. Dazed, he slowly tries to get up, still begging his brother for a break. But Theodore is so done with him. In a super threatening voice, he says, "Samuel, I'm only going to say this one more time. Go lock yourself in the iron coffin until I tell you otherwise." Theodore ends the command by giving Samuel this piercing "I'm in charge" look. The scene flips, and now there's a young woman with short black hair thanking someone. A guy with gray hair says she doesn't need to be so formal. He's like, after all, they're basically family. She's quiet for a few seconds, and then reminds the guy that it's getting pretty late, promising him she'll be fine by herself. She suggests he should probably head home. The man lets out a little sigh, agreeing he's mentally taking notes on how there's like no furniture in the house, finding it hard to believe anyone could actually live there alone. He's worried, thinking there's no way anyone could live a decent life in there. He remembers that 10 years ago, this house had a completely different vibe. It used to be this beautiful, cozy home where Jennifer, the girl with the black hair, lived with her mom and dad. But not long after her dad passed away, her mom got really sick for years, and then she died too, which turned his brother's family home into nothing but a sad, wrecked-up place. And that Jennifer, his niece, who used to be this girl who was so full of life and happiness, just turned into an empty shell with no expression and no joy. She holds out her hand, feeling a couple drops of rain, and says again that her uncle should really leave, since traffic's gonna be bad. He trying to make her feel better. So he's like, "Yo, crash at my place for a few days, I don't want you here all solo." I was like, "Nah, but thanks, Unc." I just kind of fidgeted and said, "This is my home, you know." He got the memo. He let out this huge sigh, totally bummed about leaving me here by myself. As he was bouncing, he was all, "I'll swing by tomorrow or your aunt will." Then he dropped the whole, "Your mom's in a better place" line. I just said thanks for caring. Honestly, my head was like a million miles away, just staring into space, feeling all kinds of emo. The door clicked shut. And just like that, I was alone in this old, creaky house after he left. I lit up a smoke, thinking about how much I totally hate cold days. I took a long drag, trying to chill out and ditch the bad vibes that cold weather always brings. The cig just burned down to ash while I was stuck thinking about my mom being gone. I took another hit, remembering how the rain sounded just like when my mom used to cry. I turned and was like, maybe this is her way of being super bummed about the daughter who couldn't even cry at her funeral. Alone in this house, I sighed. Yeah, that's gotta be why I hate the rain. The rain's just pouring down on the dead, dark city. This dude Samuel is booking it totally out of breath with rain slapping him in the face. His clothes are a mess and he's clutching his stomach. He just stops gasping for air, thinking, I knew they'd come for me for not laying low, but he had no idea he'd have to throw down this hard just to bounce. His hand slides down the brick wall. He looks super determined, scoping the place out and smacking his lips. Sam ducks behind the wall while his own crew is hunting him down. A couple of the clan guys are arguing about where he could be, and one's like, he's so toast, the big boss isn't gonna save him this time. Hearing that, Sam starts majorly stressing about how screwed he is. Leaning against the wall, he realizes his ankle, shoulder, and ribs are totally busted, which is gonna make ditching these goons like next to impossible. He almost gets spotted when he sees one of the dudes getting close. He's been made. Sam just bolts, sprinting through the rain like his life depends on it. Even though he's all messed up and hurting. His leather shoes are just pounding on the wet cement. Samuel takes this massive leap to get away from his chasers, sticking the landing on a roof. On another building, he can hear the goons yelling. He's just stunned for a sec. The impact on his broken bones is brutal. He's putting pressure on his wounds, just trying not to pass out right then and there. He's scanning the area, desperate for a place to crash. The rain just keeps coming down. Sam's trying to think of a super low-key spot to hide, someplace dead quiet where he can just chill for a minute. Then he spots it. He can hear the clan guys getting closer, so Sam books it. He locks onto an open window in the rainy night. He makes a mad dash for it. He just yeets his whole body through the opening, finally ditching the dudes on his tail. Sam lets out this huge gasp because you know the busted bones and that gnarly fall. His body is just giving out on him. He's fighting to stay conscious, but it's a losing battle and he starts to fade. Then boom, he's out cold in some dark room filled with bookshelves and a bunch of other junk. Meanwhile, I'm downstairs wondering what's for dinner when you're all alone in an empty house. Then it hits me, OJ and my dad's whiskey. I stare at the bottles. It's a straight-up miracle I even found them. I pour myself some whiskey, still puffing on my cig. I take a sip and I'm like, this is one of the few things left that doesn't completely suck. Just me in the kitchen and I'm like, yeah, not planning on quitting this vibe anytime soon. I down the whole glass in one go and that's when I hear this huge crash. It sounded like it came from the second floor. I look up super weirded out by the random noise. I check the window, but it's just rain, so it can't be that. Still just sitting there. With my cigarette, I'm trying to figure out what the heck just fell upstairs. Then I remember the attic all filled with books and old junk. It's been like 2 months since I was last up there. Then I remember that bird last year that kamikazed into the window and totally died. I'm kinda tipsy, so I'm struggling to get up from the table. Mumbling some random crap, I start climbing the stairs to the second floor. I'm pretty buzzed, so I lean against the door and knock like I actually think someone's gonna answer. My head's spinning a little as I turn the knob. The door creaks open and I peek inside. Rain is pouring through an open window, getting the whole attic soaked. I'm so confused, like when did I even open that? I start to shut it, glad there's no dead bird this time, and just wondering when this stupid rain is gonna stop. The window clicks shut super quiet. The second I close it, I notice this weird smell in the air. I'm looking at the bookshelves trying to pinpoint where that funk is coming from. Then all of a sudden my foot lands in something sticky. I crouch down to see what it is and totally freak when I see a trail of blood on the floor. And like against my better judgment, I start following the drops. I'm trying to find where it's coming from. Meanwhile, hiding in the shadows, Samuel goes full-on predator mode, baring his sharp teeth. His claws are all covered in blood as he props himself up on something solid. Totally frozen, Jennifer's just staring, not even processing what's in front of her. Then out of nowhere, some dude starts literally rising up from the floor and she's just completely shook. Yeah, that wasn't a bird that slammed into the window. It was a whole man with some seriously menacing eyes and dark hair, way too big to be some stray cat hiding from the rain. The guy towers over our girl and starts moving toward her. Then boom, the scene flips to the city's business district. Inside some slick corporate building, a bunch of suits are totally going at it. Someone slams their hand on a table, screaming that the only fair thing is to take Samuel out for what he did to his wife. Theodore, mentally fried, just listens while rubbing his temples. A blonde guy, knowing what a massive headache his brother is, gives Theodore a curious look. In the background, the other guys are still beefing about what to do and what's right or wrong. He grins and says Theodore looks beat and that this whole mess is going to be a major migraine. But Theodore, just fixing his tie, shuts him down with "Zip it, Jim." Jim jokes that if Theodore had just gotten hitched and had a kid, he wouldn't be stuck cleaning up Sam's disasters. Meanwhile, the other dudes keep debating Sam's fate. You know, the guy who iced the Yu family's heir. Some want him to pay with his own life, but others argue that he's from a big shot family too. With a smug look, Jim says that apparently for these guys, it doesn't even matter who's already gone as long as the family line continues. With a little smirk, Jim adds that no matter how this stupid meeting ends, the Yu family is still gonna try to get revenge on Samuel. A guy with grayish hair and golden eyes sits at the table in silence. He's giving Theodore a straight-up evil death stare. Across the table, Theodore's gaze is distant, but he totally gets why the Yu family is so ticked off. Jim, still pushing it, points out the family will use this as an excuse to get rid of Sam, because they're scared Theodore might make him his successor. Talking about the problem heir, Jim tells Theodore that if Sam ever becomes the new head of the family, he would bounce from the clan so fast. Tired of the conversation, Theodore tells the kid not to talk so crazy, but the blondie just keeps on about the mess Sam made. Then Jim asks the dark-haired guy when he's planning on getting married. Totally over the annoying chatter, Theodore just says he'll get married eventually. Then Theodore claps back. You're one to talk since you're struggling to lock anyone down. But the blonde dude retorts that all their problems would just vanish if Theodore got married and had a kid, solving the whole mess. Turning away from Jim, Theodore tells him he doesn't want his opinion and orders him to drag Sam in front of him if he finds him. Jim, just casually filing his nails, accepts the clan leader's orders. An employee quietly gets Theodore's attention, telling him they've already put a travel ban on Samuel and his credit card has gone completely dark. Theodore thanks the guy for his work and waves him off. Turning to Jim in silence, the guy in the flashy clothes just asks him for his trust. All sly, he asks Theodore what's in it for him, and the man tells him to think of it as a favor he'll owe him. Without looking up from his perfectly manicured nails, Jim asks why Theodore won't just marry their little princess, and if he had noticed she's been playing hard to get for the last 5 years. Theodore just replies that it's impossible. For a split second, Jim's smug vibe gets super threatening before snapping back to normal, asking him why he'd say that. Theodore is blunt, saying Jim's sister might go crazy, just like his late sister-in-law from the Yu family. He closes his eyes and takes a deep breath, flashing back to what happened, and adds that Jim's sister is not a good fit for his clan. Suddenly, Jim's hand clamps down hard on Theodore's shoulder, yanking the dark-haired guy closer with a low growl, asking Theodore what he's talking about. His look flips from cocky to pure evil as he asks Theodore how he dared talk about his sister Camille like that. Jim's long nails dig right through Theodore's suit jacket. Theodore gives him a furious look. With a sweep of his arm, he signals the nearby staff to back the heck off. The employees just look at each other and decide not to get in the middle of it. The other guys at the meeting are all wondering what is going on. Theodore glares at Jim with total disgust, who glares right back, silently fuming. The blonde guy sighs with satisfaction and pulls his poison-tipped nails out of Theodore's shoulder. Licking his long claws, Jim says he was just thinking about the good old days and got a little carried away. Letting out a quick sigh, Theodore decides it's time for them to ditch the meeting. One of the men starts shouting, outraged that the family leader is just walking out on this never-ending argument. The two guys leave the room saying they can't fix this insane situation without Samuel there anyway, and that the old-timers could just take a break. Super irritated, the gray-haired man watches them go. In a chill-out room with chairs, tables, books, and a full bar, Theodore winces a little as he touches the wound on his shoulder from Jim. Trying to play it off, the dark-haired man asks, "So what was the point of sinking your toxic claws into me?" With a totally innocent smile, Jim's just like, "You were bugging me." Then to make it all better, the dude starts licking the very same scratches he just made. Then pulling this whole cutesy act, Jim's like, "Haven't you ever heard of being the poison and the antidote?" But Theodore's just like, "Nah, can't say I have." Then flipping a switch, Jim gets all serious and asks what the big deal is with Theodore marrying his sister Camille. Staring out this massive window, Theodore reminds him that women who pop out heirs for families like theirs tend to get their DNA all twisted with ours, and completely lose it. Jim asks if that's what went down with his mom. Theodore's like, "What happened to her?" It was pretty close since she was already a total piece of work to begin with. He flashes back and tells Jim his own mom tried to make him a snack right after he was born, but at the last second she ended up chowing down on something else so she wouldn't hurt him. So yeah, she wrecked herself instead. He closes his eyes, remembering that was the only thing that kept her from completely snapping. But Sam wasn't so lucky. Jim asks if Samuel's mom also tried to pull that stunt, and Theodore's like, yeah, it happened when he was too little to do anything about it, but he ended up raising him like his own little bro and was even there for his first ever eye-opening moment. And just like that, it all clicks for Jim why Theodore is so crazy protective as he watches the dark-haired guy light up a smoke. Facing the window, Theodore says some people think that whole vibe is the Esio family brand, but for real, it's more likely to happen to anyone who marries into a pure bloodline. Jim totally gets it, saying how messy it is trying to dodge weddings between all these top-tier families because they keep it all in-house. The blonde dude thinks out loud that even with all that drama hasn't gone down with the marriages in his family. Taking a drag from his cigarette, Theodore's just like, "I'm aware." The two of them just vibe in the room, and then Jim asks if Theodore's gonna ghost his family's offer. We get a flashback of a girl with long blonde hair and a red outfit hiding her face with a fan. Meanwhile, Jim's trying to hype Theodore up about the whole thing, saying the women from the Tin family are total badasses. Theodore just silently blows out smoke. Then getting all mysterious, he spins this whole what-if scenario, like if something messed up went down between him and Camille, could Jim actually keep his word? Taking another hit, Theodore says it'd be all-out war for sure. Jim silently agrees, thinking it would be a next-level war if anything ever happened to his sister. Patting the dark-haired guy on the back, Jim says all smoothly that Theodore's only saying all this 'cause he's super into him, right? Meanwhile, Jennifer is totally frozen, not sure if she's dreaming or just tripping from the alcohol. From a corner of the attic, some dude is giving off this gross, sticky, metallic smell and just death staring her. Even though she's terrified, she clocks his pointy ears and long fangs. "Sucks to be you, huh?" the vamp-looking guy says, tapping her chin. That's when she sees his sharp claws, too. She realizes he can talk and is 100% a monster. Looking at the whole situation, Jenny figures they're both having a pretty bad night, especially him since he looks like he's totally running on empty. She takes a closer look at him and spots something. Seeing his messed up shirt, she asks if he's hurt. Next thing she knows, this huge hand clamps down hard on her throat. The monster gets this evil grin, pulling his lips back to flash his fangs, and says that even though she's basically a stick, making a meal out of her will have to do. Even with his hand crushing her neck, Jennifer manages to ask if he eats people. That's when she gets that he's dead serious. She also spots the bling from an earring in his pointy ear and a super bougie watch on one of his hands. Super chill, Jennifer is just like, "I can take care of you." The monster just stares at her, totally shook by the offer. A bead of sweat drips down his face, clearly weirded out by the idea of some fragile human trying to patch him up. She insists, saying she can totally fix his wounds if he needs it, thinking that even though he's a monster, he can actually hold a conversation and look her in the eye. She says she's gonna run downstairs for some clean towels. Then she gently puts her hands up, telling him to just stay put. Wincing in pain, he tries to warn her about something. She's confused and just stares back at him. Not even realizing it, she'd been pressing right on a huge gash on his stomach, and with his ribs all busted, he was starting to black out. Then boom, his eyes roll back in his head and he's out cold. He hits the floor with a heavy thud right at her feet. She just stares at her own stained hands, knowing that she totally didn't mean for any of that to happen. He's sleeping peacefully with the morning sun hitting him. Over on Jennifer's couch, Samuel is crashed out after last night's crazy escape. In the bathroom, Jennifer hops in the shower. In the quiet, she's just trying to process everything that went down in the last few hours. She glances at the dried up stains on her hand. For a second, she just completely zones out, her eyes going all distant. She gets out of the shower water dripping onto the floor, thinking back to last night. Jennifer was totally struggling lugging this giant monster dude who passed out in her attic. She's like panting and holding her breath trying to drag him through the house, and finally she dumps the knocked out guy on her living room couch. Shaking from like total exhaustion, she leans over him trying to fix her aching back while he's just out cold in her tiny living room. He lets out this little groan. She grabs some wet wipes. Wipe in hand, Jennifer plops down next to him on the small couch, noticing how jacked up his skin is, and she's thinking what in the world could have done this to him. She starts gently cleaning the small cuts on his face. Lost in her own world as she's wiping away the dried gunk, she admits to herself she never pictured being in this situation taking care of some random guy who basically just fell out of the sky. She carefully dabs the wipe on his stomach, realizing that even for a monster, his body was seriously messed up. Barely getting the words out, Samuel asks if she's the one who dragged him down here. Jenny, totally over it, is like, "Yeah, you're heavy as a brick and these stains are crusty and a pain to get out." She keeps cleaning the spot that seems to hurt the most, even though he's whining about it. Tormented by the pain, he tells her to go easy, but she just says it's not that simple. She puts a little pressure on his body, saying he fell from a second-story window, but man, she can't even handle that much pain. He gets all quiet, totally embarrassed. Then she asks him if he wants to go to a hospital. He's like, "Nah, I'll be good after I sleep it off." She gets up to go find him some clean clothes. Still sprawled on the couch, Sam asks Jennifer if she isn't, totally freaked out by him, and if she thinks he might, off her. Already halfway across the room, she looks back and asks, "You gonna try to take me out right now?" She opens a closet, looking for clothes, and says, "If you were, then yeah, that'd be scary." He thinks her face doesn't exactly scream terrified, as she chucks some clean clothes at him. As she's leaving the room, Jennifer tells him she doesn't care if he's a monster or a criminal, but he seriously needs to bounce as soon as he's feeling better. From Samuel's perspective, he sees a girl who doesn't even blink at some sketchy situation and isn't being sarcastic or just acting tough. He's kinda impressed she didn't freak out over the whole not human thing. And Sam's thinking she gives off this vibe like she's already seen it all and has been running on empty for ages like some jaded adult. He looks over at her, wondering if her soul's been hurting for a while, but figures it's not his problem. He rolls over and passes out again. She sees that he's crashed again and is like, "Why'd he even ask if I was scared?" Taking a sip of her drink, she thinks about what a weirdo this guy is. The lights in the tiny apartment click off. Then all of a sudden, she's snapped out of her thoughts by the monster dude screaming, "Yo, I need to eat now!" In her head, she's comparing him to some feral animal begging for scraps. While she finishes her shower yelling back that she's coming, he just keeps screaming, "I lost a ton of life force yesterday. I told you I need to eat to get it back." In her head, Jennifer thinks this dude is so ungrateful and is starting to think she should have just left him in the attic. Meanwhile, Samuel's freaking out, thinking he's totally screwed things up with his clan. He's bummed out in the living room, like, what is even happening? He can't believe a human is actually helping him. His mind flashes to the clan members who messed him up, and he knows they've got to still be hunting for him after last night. He's wondering, what's gonna happen next? He remembers smashing anything they could track like his phone, and knows if this girl calls the cops, the Yu family could find him. He tells himself the real problem is the girl who's in the shower. Hyped by the idea of getting some food and energy back, he strolls into the kitchen. Samuel yanks open the fridge, and it's completely barren. Like nothing but booze and orange juice. He's thinking, how does this girl even survive? From the bathroom, wrapped in a white towel, she calls out that she told him to leave, but here he is whining about food. He gets all cocky, saying that's dumb, and asks, "How am I supposed to trust you?" Getting closer to her, he says there's no way he can trust her since she could just dip and call the cops on him. She sighs, realizing this dude is a total mess. Jennifer turns to go get dressed, asking Samuel since when were they on a let's eat together level? Meanwhile, he's getting super annoyed with her vibe. He complains that he needs to eat like a ton of meat because he lost so much life force, and she asks if pork belly is good enough, and he snaps back that he doesn't eat cheap junk. She tells him to chill for a sec and stop standing there like a total creep. The young woman closes the door behind her, leaving him standing there all confused. Samuel's literally shaking from hunger in the hallway while he waits for her to get dressed. He tells her she's a super weird girl, but Jennifer hits him back with right back atcha. She walks out of the room in some comfy clothes and asks him what he's staring at. They just kind of stare at each other for a second. She can't help but notice he actually looks kind of hot in her dad's clothes. Being a total tool, he asks, "What, falling for me already?" Unshaken, she hits him with an "in your dreams" and bounces. As they're walking, Samuel, with his major rich kid vibe, asks Jennifer if she's seriously carless. She's like, nah, and tells him she doesn't even need one. He gets all salty about it and says she sounds like a total downer. The whole walk, Sam just whines to Jenny about like everything. How she's not even trying to be hot because she wears no makeup. How her clothes are basic. How she doesn't have a car. Like for real. So Jennifer finally turns to Samuel and is like, do I really give off sad girl vibes? And in the background, a bunch of dogs are going off. Samuel deadass tells her she looks like she's about to take a long walk off a short pier into the Han River. They keep walking, Jenny totally bugged by his comments, and the dogs are still yapping. She turns to check out the dog that's spazzing out. Right behind them in this little alley, a brown dog is just losing its mind, barking nonstop like something's seriously wrong. Jenny thinks the dog is acting super weird, because it's usually chill, but then Samuel comes up behind her, giving the dog a total death stare. He's looking at it with this seriously messed up expression. Jenny kind of flinches a little, freaked out, wondering if he's like ever eaten something like that before. The dog keeps barking, baring its pointy teeth. Then all of a sudden, its whole vibe changes. The poor thing tucks its tail shaking and its fur standing on end. He just laughs all smug. Samuel, with this totally psycho look on his face, tells the dog that no matter how hangry he is, it's not going to be his next meal. He's like, "You gonna keep barking at me?" And the dog literally starts to pass out. Jenny is just shook, totally freaked out watching this go down. The dog just collapses on the ground, without a scratch on it. She grabs her shirt, terrified, wondering if the dog just fainted because he told it to. Hugging herself, Jenny's like, where are these super bad vibes coming from? Samuel puts his hand on her shoulder. He pulls her in close and whispers right by her neck, asking if he can be real with her for a sec. She totally tenses up, scared out of her mind. Her fists are clenched and shaking. He starts saying that if she wasn't so skinny, she would have been a snack by now, Samuel says with this creepy-ass smile. Taking all this in, Jennifer finally gets it. He's some kind of monster who sees people as like actual food. She tries to chill, thinking that if he wanted to unalive her, he would have done it already. Jennifer just sighs and says she doesn't think someone like her with her basic clothes and not being a 10 out of 10 would even be a satisfying meal, which totally shuts him up. Shaking from hunger, he admits she's got a point. He tries to play it off, saying he wasn't actually going to eat the dog, and she's just listening, thinking he's a total moron. Samuel then accuses her of ignoring him and calls her an ice queen. She claps back instantly, telling him he's full of it, and that no girl has to smile or reply to every dumb thing he says. Just then, a taxi rolls up. She hails the cab, totally ignoring him while he keeps on whining. They both hop in, and Sam rudely tells the driver to take them to Gangnam Station. He just sits there, with his arms crossed, obviously in a mood, while Jennifer just watches him, thinking how different he is from last night. She's quietly wondering if she's losing her mind or just tripping. Flashing back to that whole scene on the street from earlier, she knows that sticking around him is a bad look. She covers one of her hands, trying to play it cool and hide what she's thinking. Samuel catches a glimpse of her hands, which are low-key shaking. He totally uses it as an excuse to flash this smug-ass smile. Finally, they get to their stop, and the cab driver asks how they want to pay. Sam whips out a wallet and pulls out some cash. He hands it to the driver. And right then, Jenny realizes that's her asterisk wallet. Like, how did he even swipe it without her noticing? They get out of the cab and Samuel's all relieved, like finally time to grub, while she's just giving him the side eye. Some dude with blonde hair points him out to his friend, saying she's been staring at some guy for a minute, but she gets all flustered and denies it. The whole street is buzzing with girls checking out Samuel. They're all whispering about how hot he is, wondering if he's a model or some K-pop idol. Jenny sees all these girls fawning over how good-looking Sam is. Then out of nowhere, the monster boy grabs her arm. He's like, "Why are you just standing there?" and tells her to hurry up so they can eat. As they're rushing off, a bunch of girls whip out their phones to snap pics, trying to figure out who this guy is. He gets so annoyed with all the attention from the girls and thinks this whole situation is a major hassle. A bunch of girls way younger than Jennifer are giggling and trying to dock Samuel. He's thinking like, if all this hype gets back to Sebastian Yu, his ex's crazy powerful relative, he's totally gonna get found. Plus, he's still feeling beat up, not even at 100%. He's straight up fuming, thinking, for real, can't a guy just grab some food? He's taking it all out on Jenny, still got her in a death grip, telling her to step on it. And she's like, "Let go of me." Totally annoyed, she's all, "Why are you so obsessed with getting food with me anyway?" Then it hits her like her life was never gonna be normal. She's got this super dark secret, this whole other reality she's dealing with. Jen looks at all the normies on the street and feels like they're living on a different planet than her. For real. As Sam basically drags her through the crowd, she's like, for real. In the middle of the day, everything's chill except for me. So lame. It's so messed up that this psycho is the one making her feel almost normal for the first time in forever. She hasn't even thought about wanting a normal life in ages. Heading to the restaurant, her stomach literally starts growling. She's like, how am I even hungry right now? She just stares at Sam, totally stunned. This dude is just going to town on a massive piece of meat. She realizes he's already downed like 7 plates of steak and is on his 7th bottle of fancy French wine. She just keeps watching him, thinking he's a total monster in a human suit. He points at her plate of salmon with some white sauce and is like, "You gonna eat that or what?" She takes a bite and tells him it's been a hot minute since she last ate a meal with someone else. He holds up this tiny roll and tells her to eat up and leave him alone. Meanwhile, he's got a mountain of food and a whole basket of rolls in front of him, chewing. On the one roll he gave her, she thinks it's kind of funny. He only gave her one when there's a whole basket. But still, thanks to this freak, it's the first time in forever she's actually had lunch with someone. Figuring she should probably thank him or something, Jenny gives the waitress her credit card to pay. The waitress sees the total and gets all awkward double-checking if all that food was really just for 2 people. Jennifer just sighs and says, yeah, totally kicking herself for footing the whole bill. They leave the restaurant and she figures Sam's gotta be full by now. So Jenny tells him he can bounce now and tries to dip. But this monster dude stops her all like, what are you talking about? We're going shopping. Totally annoyed by his attitude. She whips around and asks why on earth she'd go shopping with him. He just points to some store that's apparently the spot even if it's not his top choice. But she's not having it. Jennifer's like, when are you gonna be satisfied? And tells him she's out because she doesn't want to get mixed up with some dumb monster like him. Samuel just gives her this silent, intense stare. He turns to her, gets a little closer, and asks if she'd rather he hit on her and give her a ride, or if he should get on his knees and thank her for cleaning up his mess. Totally pissed at how cocky he is, she sees him as a complete jerk and tells him straight up that if he keeps this up, she's gonna bolt. But he just gives her this wicked little smirk. Sam grabs a piece of her hair, leaning in even closer, and makes fun of her for even thinking about running away. He tells her this is just how he's rewarding her. He starts talking right by her neck, but she just snaps, and cuts the monster off, calling him out for keeping her alive instead of just ending it. This whole thing is so not fun. Sam's whole vibe shifts, and he gets this seriously scary look. Jenny sparks a cigarette and tells him she's so over being alive, and thanks to him, it's even more of a drag. All of a sudden, his huge hands clamp down on her tiny shoulders. Samuel, being the master manipulator he is, tells Jenny she talks way too much for someone who has no clue what's going on. She just stares at him totally shocked as he, in a super threatening way, offers to straight up cut her tongue out. He laughs, showing off his sharp fangs, and says, maybe then you could live a nice quiet life. A shiver runs down her spine as he plucks the cigarette from her mouth, and she realizes it's the same creepy feeling she got when he went all alpha on that dog. Samuel flicks her cigarette onto the ground, laughing and saying that humans should just be good little pets and do what they're told. A major wave of chills hits Jennifer, and she starts shaking like crazy, wondering what the heck is happening. He uses one hand to pull her body tight against his. He pulls her in close, turning on that fake charm of his, and asks her to go shopping again. Cut to Jenny's apartment where it's totally dark. She grabs a soda and opens her big fridge, but stops dead when she sees what's inside. She looks around completely lost. She's literally thinking, is this even my apartment? She touches her head, realizing she has zero memory of how she got home after that whole thing with the monster dude. She's shook by the fridge being packed with fresh food, remembering that after her mom got sick, she basically lived on pastries from some bakery in Gangnam instead of real meals, so her fridge was always empty. Super carefully, she keeps looking around, trying to figure out who could have filled her fridge. She realizes her memory is totally blank. She starts trying to remember yesterday, and what happened after that lunch with Samuel. They totally got into it. She remembers being terrified, and just desperately wanting to go home. Thinking it all over, she realizes it felt like she was in some kind of trance. Jennifer starts wondering if any of that was even real. With a soft click, she flips on the living room lights. A little dazed by the sudden brightness, she shields her eyes, and asks herself what could have possibly happened while she was out of it. Then she sees boxes of super fancy expensive perfume and a bunch of designer shopping bags. Totally freaked out by all this, she sees her living room is literally overflowing with crazy expensive gifts and bags from high-end stores. She stares at all the stuff, completely pissed at that monster's nerve holding some bougie perfume. She's like, I would literally never buy any of this stuff. Jennifer is totally bugging trying to figure out how she dropped so much cash on bougie things, and she's convinced it's all that monster dude's fault. Getting more ticked off, she even spots some fancy smokes that cost way more than her usual brand. Whatever, she figures she can just grab a different pack. But what was she supposed to do with all this other junk? She's holding the bags, thinking about taking it all back for a refund because those price tags are giving her a heart attack. Jennifer knows she can't return the food in the fridge though. But she hypes herself up, thinking maybe she'll actually try to cook something in the next few days. Then out of nowhere, she spots this sleek black box on her coffee table. It's a box with the newest model inside of a crazy expensive smartphone. She's completely shook and walks over to it, not believing her own eyes. She picks up the little black box and sees it's legit the latest model that just dropped. After she unboxes it, Jenny's like, how did I even manage to cop this? You need an ID to walk out of the store with one. Then she gets this flash of herself totally zoned out by him while signing all the paperwork to take the smartphone home. Jennifer just stares at it, lost in her head, blaming Samuel for everything. All of a sudden, the phone starts buzzing, and totally startled, Jenny literally yeets the thing into the air. After grabbing it again, she squints at the screen and sees her aunt is calling. The second she answers, she instantly regrets it because she hears her aunt screaming her name like it's the end of the world. While going off about her not picking up sooner, her aunt is on her case, nagging that Jennifer has to check in every single time she leaves the house. Low-key relieved to hear her aunt's voice, Jenny cracks the first smile we've seen from her. Chilling on the couch, Jenny realizes that even though her aunt usually gets on her last nerve, right now it was a relief just to hear a familiar voice. The girl apologizes, explaining she couldn't hit her up earlier because her old phone was busted. Still whining on the other end. Her aunt's like, you could have borrowed a phone from a neighbor, but Jennifer just says she's got stuff to do and asks if they can talk later. Giving up, the lady says she'll bring over some kimchi tomorrow, and then asks her, Why do you sound so out of it? You sick or something? Jenny just slumps into the couch with no good answer for her aunt, thinking, yeah, I got mind controlled by a vampire, and he made me go on a shopping spree. Since she can't exactly spill that whole crazy story, Jennifer just tells her she's been super wiped lately. Faking a smile, she agrees with her aunt's whole take some medicine and rest spiel. And then they hang up. Her hand just drops, still holding the phone. Totally over this whole situation, she flops back on the couch, desperately hoping that monster boy doesn't come back looking for her. Jenny's out here cutting some weeds blocking the sun, and our girl is admiring all the hard work she put into cleaning up the garden. She gives herself a little pat on the back, hyped that she's finally done with the yard work. Realizing it's way past lunchtime, she decides to pick it back up later. A few weeks after scrubbing the dried stains and fixing the rain damage in the attic, it hits her that it's been weeks since the monster last showed up. Reaching for a bag of milk bread, Jenny tells herself the only good thing about that monster being around is that the fridge, which used to be just booze and water, was now stacked with actual food. Jennifer whips up a bomb-looking sandwich. She looks at the food, remembering not too long ago, when on the worst days, she'd be eating a single cabbage leaf. The girl feels kinda happy imagining her aunt would take all this as a sign she's eating better, something she could never pull off when she lived with her mom. While patting the leaves dry with a paper towel, Jenny starts thinking about her mother. In the background, a door slams, as she remembers how her mom got so on edge after her diagnosis, and after going through so many caregivers. In her relaxing bath, Jennifer thinks about how her mom stayed super sensitive, even after she took over as her caregiver. She reaches for a towel, feeling that ache for everything her mom went through. Towel drying her hair, now fully dressed. She admits to herself she thought a huge weight would be gone after her mom passed. But then, all of a sudden, she sees an envelope on the kitchen table, right on the plate where she had left the sandwich. Totally confused, she grabs the envelope, wondering what the heck it is. When she opens it, she sees it's stuffed with cash. Still in shock, she reads the note that was tucked in with the bills. And outside, a dog is just barking its head off. The note says, the sandwich was trash. And trembling, she realizes Samuel was here. Her head whips around, but there's no sign he was ever there. All alone in her house, Jenny gets it, the only proof of the monster's pop-up visit is the dog still going crazy outside. Annoyed by his presence, we flash back to the past where we see a couple together, and Theodore's voiceover says that ever since he was a little kid, he could tell the difference in the smell of his parents versus other people. A young Theodore watches this classy woman and thinks about how his family was just built different. All gloomy, he thinks about how that fact wasn't a good thing, because looking at his dad and his stepmom, he realizes he can't smell her scent at all. Inside a massive mansion, you can hear desperate screams. He anxiously taps his fancy little shoes on the floor. Meanwhile, some butler is trying to get him to take a chill pill, saying he's gonna meet his little bro soon. But Theodore's just replaying his mom's words about how she basically bit the dust giving birth to him. So, the little dude figures his stepmom's going through the same deal, probably losing her mind. Then boom, we're back to now. And Theodore, who's been spilling this whole backstory, wraps it up and asks if Jim is satisfied now. Being extra, Jim says that whole horror show totally killed his vibe, and that Theodore should have given him a trigger warning. To which the guy just claps back. You for real calling my family drama a horror story? Jim then hits him with, weren't you like way too young to be put in charge of the family? And the dark-haired dude says his dad was a total deadbeat who couldn't even protect his wife and kid, so him getting kicked to the curb was a no-brainer. After hearing Theodore out, the blonde guy asks him to spill more on his dad being so irresponsible. And the other guy says he dipped on a vacation right when his stepmom was about to pop out Samuel. Super annoyed. Theodore asks Jim if he even wants to hear the rest of it, but Jim's like, nah, I'm good, saying he remembers they were just kids taking classes in Hong Kong around that same time. Then, Theodore is like, can we be done with the marriage questions for good? And Jim agrees to drop it for now. Thinking it over, the blonde dude gets that Theodore doesn't actually hate his sister, but that she's got major potential now that she's all grown up. Thing is, at that exact moment, she's probably with her real mom. Jim cracks this shady little smile, just imagining how Theodore is gonna flip when he finds out. A second later, Mario, one of Theodore's crew, walks in, sees Jim is there, and asks if he should bounce and come back. Jim's immediately like, nah, spill what you found on Samuel's location, I'm dying to know. And Theodore tells him to give the report. Mark tells them about a fat stack of cash that was pulled from the runaway's bank account. He's guessing the money is for Samuel to stay off the grid, even though there's been zero activity on his credit card. Jim, just chilling on the couch, wonders what the U family crew is up to. Theodore tells Mark he can go, and the dude gives a respectful nod and dips, kinda zoned out. Jim hears Theodore say he should go chase down some leads. The dark-haired dude then suggests that if Jim was just gonna hang around for the drama and be nosy, he could at least help out like he promised he would. Jim eagerly tells Theodore his people are also going all out to find the fugitive. Getting a wicked look in his eyes, Jim tells Theodore the easiest fix is to just make that punk disappear. But not just that, Samuel would have to ghost them completely without leaving a single trace. With a nasty smirk, Jim keeps going, saying that even though the situation is obvious, Samuel has zero self-control. And if he starts running his mouth, the crew will find him knocked out and looking like he had a bad trip. Totally over it. Theodore tells the blonde dude to get to the point and asks him if he thought it was a solid plan to snatch Samuel first, and then haul him over to the U family. Smiling sweetly, Jim just tells Theodore to trust him. On another note, Jennifer's aunt is strictly telling the girl to always eat good and basically do nothing but rest for a whole month. Though she admits a little fun is fine. The lady tells her niece to hit her up if anything goes down and super awkwardly. Jenny's like, got it. As she's leaving, her aunt mentions that her uncle saw some job openings for her at his company, and Jenny politely thanks her for all the help. The door clicks shut. Jenny lets out a huge sigh of relief in the quiet house. The first thing she does is pull out a cigarette, since she was fighting the urge the whole time her aunt was there. The girl turns on a speaker, ready to just vibe by herself for a while. The smooth sound of I Wish You Love by Rachel Yamagata starts to play the slow jam, filling up the whole house. Jennifer is just soaking up the music, chilling on her couch. The slow melody keeps playing. Our girl finally starts to relax, closing her eyes like she's about to nod off. She leans back into the sofa, totally chill, and starts to drift off. Suddenly her eyes pop open to a familiar guy's voice asking, "So is your future looking any brighter?" She jolts awake, seeing Samuel just standing in her living room. He gives her a smug grin, saying her place was a real downer before. Jenny, totally furious, asks the creep if he climbed through the window again since she never heard the doorbell, and he just blows off her question, saying even her skin looks better. He touches her hair, asking if after everything that's happened that's what she's hung up on. She tells him to get his hands off her. Jenny then asks him, was that cash in the envelope supposed to be like payment for the sandwich? He sits down next to her on the couch, looking like he can't believe what he's hearing. Samuel says he did it because he was worried she felt she got a raw deal since the clothes and perfume were on her card, but she gets up from the sofa and says she'll just give him back the rest. He laughs, asking Jennifer what she's planning to do with all the stuff, and gives her a heads up that he's going to be popping in a few more times to grab snacks and that she could just see that money as a prepayment for the food. Totally frozen with fear, Jennifer turns to the psycho and asks if he's for real about coming back here more often. Sam just scoffs at her question, telling her she's hilarious, and that yeah, he's totally planning on crashing here more often. And in her head, Jenny's just like, what a player, zero shame. The girl grabs the smoke and tells him she's not laughing, especially not at some dude just popping up at her place whenever he feels like it. A new track starts playing, and Sam lets her know he's totally into this song. Jenny then clocks that the music changed while they were arguing, and Samuel actually gives props to her playlist. Kinda thrown, she asks the guy if he's for real about liking the song. He cracks a legit smile, not his usual smirk, and tells Jennifer his bro is a huge fan of this vibe and plays it on repeat. Inside, our girl is shook, thinking there are more of his kind running around. Staring out the big living room window, Jenny asks the monster guy if he's got any other family. But he's like, nah, his bro was all he had. He looks over at her and says that just like her, his brother used to smoke a lot too, with a cig hanging from her lips. The girl just lets that sink in. She thinks about how even though he's some creature with insane powers, the way they're talking right now makes it feel like all that crazy stuff never went down because he's just acting like a regular dude. A surprisingly chill Samuel walks over to Jenny, giving her props for cleaning up the house and yard, saying that before the place looked like a total horror movie set, but she killed it. The young woman's like, yeah, she did a little work on the yard. He keeps throwing out ideas like putting in new plants after the full moon and buying some new chairs for the garden, then planting peonies that would stick around for ages. He keeps riffing, saying by next year they'll have an awesome garden, super green and popping with flowers. No flower bed needed. Our girl takes a long drag after hearing the monster guy's suggestions, thinking that for a change, those kinds of ideas are kinda sweet. And right after that, she hears the guy she'd written off as a monster humming along. Samuel softly sings the words to Fly Me to the Moon, and the sound just fills the room. She tunes into his voice, mixing perfectly with the music. Closing her eyes, she just soaks in the peaceful vibe. In that moment, she starts seeing him as a guy who's into the old school stuff because of his brother. But when she turns to finally ask his name, she realizes he's totally ghosted in the middle of the day. She looks around, seeing she's all by herself again, realizing that she didn't even catch the monster guy's name, but she had a gut feeling he'd be back. After that day, our girl gets random visits from Samuel, but she never worked up the nerve to ask him what the deal was with him always showing up. Anyway, even if she did ask, she knew he was going to do whatever he wanted. Samuel says her name, holding a cup of coffee. Super curious, the young woman, fresh out of the shower, asks him how the heck he knows her name. He's just like, that day we got your new phone, duh. On the dining table, there's a nice salad and a plate of spaghetti. And Samuel asks Jenny what's with the sudden job hunt. Twirling some spaghetti on her fork, she tells him it's just a temp gig at some magazine company. Then she tells him to stop dropping by in the daytime from now on, since no one would be home to make him snacks. Totally offended, he asks her what kind of publisher it is, and what someone like her could even do there. She's like, what's that supposed to mean? And he claps back, noticing her attitude. Jenny's totally bummed out by his jerky comments. While they're eating, she asks if he's trying to say she's useless. With a smug grin, Samuel says she's a pro at doing absolutely nothing, and she figures his whole vibe is because she told him to stop crashing at her place. He goes on saying a temp job is just lame grunt work, and that she'd get zero out of it. Jennifer shoots back that she can't just chill and eat forever without a job. Out of nowhere, Sam says he can totally bankroll her, which makes Jenny so shocked she almost does a spit take. Totally blowing off Jenny's protests, Samuel whips out his wallet, which is stuffed with fat stacks of cash. The redhead drops the money on the table and tells her to quit being difficult and just take it. 'Cause being all proud and stubborn is a total drag. Jennifer tells him straight up that there's no way she deserves that cash. Not really getting how regular people think. He asks her, like, is it a rule that all humans have to work? That's so lame. Still whining, Sam says instead of a magazine she should sign up for cooking classes because her food still sucks even after all this time. Pissed at the monster guy's diss, Jennifer fires back and tells him to stay out of her business. She slams her fist on the table. Back off! She keeps going, saying she gets that he's loaded and powerful, but he has no right to cross the line like that. Our girl just sees Samuel as a rude monster whose cash and power have totally gone to his head. Since he thinks he can just dump on people with less, why even bother treating him like a person? She gives him a death stare while he keeps poking the bear with his cocky talk. Then, trying to smooth things over, the monster guy tells her she's getting it all twisted, and it's only 'cause he thinks she's cute. Just 'cause he's crashing there doesn't give her a free pass to run her mouth. So they're having this major stare down in the kitchen, and Samuel straight up points at Jenny. His whole vibe shifts in like a second. He's all like, we're on totally different planets soul deep. Our girl Jenny is just looking at him with these sad puppy dog eyes. She's hanging on his every word, as he's being a total jerk telling her to just take the cash and be grateful. He's acting like he's doing her this huge favor by taking care of her. And she's like, when did I ever ask you to do that? For real, he's just a freeloader crashing at her place. She's getting heated and tells him he has zero right to talk to her like that since they're like nothing. Samuel gets this super cringe sarcastic look and starts making fun of her, asking what's got her so bent out of shape. He leans in, puts a hand on his chin all dramatic-like and goes, oh, I get it now. Then he pops up from the table real quick and circles around behind her, which is super creepy. He asks Jenny if she actually thought they had like a asterisk thing asterisk. He's got this threatening tone and a seriously evil smile while he says it. Lucky for some people, I guess. The whole class thing is still a thing. To him, she's basically that dog that passed out ages ago and was only saved because the monster felt generous. Now he gets all manipulative, saying stuff's about to get super messy if she starts thinking they're equals. Our girl is clearly not vibing with this whole situation. She shoots up from the table while this monster keeps yapping about how Jennifer needs to fix her empty look and how it was getting better since he started taking care of her. But now, oh no, all his hard work was for nothing. What a drama king. Jenny starts to bounce, and this dude, acting all shocked, is like, where do you think you're going? She slams the door super loud while the monster is whining, asking if she's for real gonna ghost him right to his face. Jennifer lights up a smoke even though her stomach is in knots. She's totally crushed, realizing she was way off about them being friends. Like it was all in her head. She takes a drag and it hits her. For him, that connection was never there. To Samuel, she's probably just like a pet or something. Chilling on her bed smoking, she feels like a total clown for thinking they were buds just 'cause he sang her one nice song. After today, she knows for sure that to this monster boy, people are just toys. She's spacing out, wondering how she can kick him to the curb. Then out of nowhere, Jenny's new phone starts buzzing and it's her uncle lighting up the screen. She picks up like, hey, and he's asking if she's good, and if anything wild has gone down since they last saw each other. Jennifer just plays it cool, telling him everything's fine. Then the old dude drops a bomb. There's a job opening. He asks how soon she can start, and she's like, literally tomorrow. Our girl's uncle is totally stoked to hear it. He gets all hyped, hoping his niece gets her spark back. She hears him tell her to swing by the office tomorrow with her resume. But then he starts bringing up the sickness that took her mom. And bam, Jennifer just freezes up at the mention of that tragedy. She's polite but clearly shook and just dips from the call. Stunned but also kind of relieved, she stares at her phone, thinking about the total meltdown she would have had if the old guy finished his sentence. She's not about to let the world see her weak spots. Our girl is dead set on not needing anyone. I mean, after trusting Samuel for like 5 seconds, he betrayed her more than once, basically punishing her just to feed his own ego. So she makes a promise to herself that she won't get played by some monster she knows nothing about. She flings her bedroom door open and yells for the monster boy, ready for a serious talk. But plot twist, the house is dead silent and empty. Everything's exactly where it should be. Freaked out, she's wondering if he just dipped. She spots the untouched food on the dining table. Jennifer just can't wrap her head around why the monster boy would ghost like that. I mean, after all that drama, he didn't seem like the type to just ditch an argument. Alone in her house, she gets these bad familiar vibes as she steps in something sticky on the floor. She glances back curious, and sees the same gross stains that were on the floor the day he showed up. Hyping herself up, our girl slowly walks over to the stains. She checks it out and sees a little dead animal in the hallway. She's frozen. It clicks that the monster boy was teaching her a lesson, in the only language he speaks, being a violent psycho just for standing up to him. He basically threw a tantrum and took it out on a poor defenseless creature. In her head, Jenny is just tearing him a new one for doing something so messed up. She holds the little thing in her hands. Like, why be so cruel? Totally crushed by this random awful tragedy, she's just drowning in sadness. Out in her garden, she starts wondering if she's next, and if she should start sleeping with a knife. Now she's beyond mad at Samuel and swears to herself she's not backing down no matter what. Cut to a super fancy bar, bottles everywhere. Samuel's just chilling at the counter. And some blonde girl slides up trying to chat him up, asking if he's alone. He gets all smooth and is like, If that's what you want, then yeah, I'm all alone. So the girl puts her hand on his all delicate like. He gives her a friendly smile, but then his eyes drift off as he thinks about how fake people are always switching up their act depending on the situation. In his opinion, like that chick was so extra she had no clue how good she had it and just curved me. What else was I even supposed to do to make her get it? For real, some people only learn when you scare them straight. He's giving her major side-eye, thinking she's just so exhausting to be around. The blonde hottie gets all concerned and is like, yo, you good? Am I killing your vibe or something? Samuel just flashes this chill smile, tells the girl it's nothing, and asks if she wants to dip. This dude with a total snack look says he wants to hang out with her longer. The girl gives a shy little smile, saying she'd be totally down to spend more time with him. And low-key in his head, Samuel's thinking he loves it when people are easygoing. Then his brain just flips back to Jenny, who he bets is a total mess right now, bawling over that messed-up gift he left her. Sam leads the blonde out of the place and she's all smiles, completely clueless about who this guy really is. As they're bouncing, he's thinking, oh yeah, Jenny's about to get what's coming to her. Cut to this office and it's like the most basic setup ever, desks, chairs, and a ton of organized cubicles stuffed with paperwork. And someone had asked Jennifer to sort through some stuff there. So there's Jenny, the new girl, on her first day rocking a business casual fit and juggling a bunch of things she needs to put away. In the same room, Jenny from across the way totally overhears this brunette looking hella annoyed at her phone, wondering where the photographer for her interview ghosted to. While she's organizing some folders, Jenny's just watching this whole mess go down, wondering what the tea is. Then a woman's voice calls her name and she looks shook because it's literally her first day. The brunette invites our girl to tag along on an interview, and Jenny is just frozen with no idea how to handle the situation. But the other girl is determined, explaining that there's literally no one else to call on such short notice and insists Jennifer has to go. Our girl, trying to dodge this mission, asks her coworker if she's sure it's cool for her to go. But the coworker hypes her up, saying that's how everyone learns. So Jenny just grabs her bag. The girl, who's clearly a reporter, tells her that the day's whole story is about pets. They're hitting up a dog cafe and our girl's only job is to snap some pics. Jenny listens, feeling for her as the stressed-out reporter explains that the photographer totally bailed at the last second, so she needs all the help she can get. They're walking and talking on the street, heading over to the cafe. The brunette asks why Jenny isn't more pumped for her first assignment. Then she's like, wait, are you scared of dogs or something? Jenny, looking kinda down, just says it's not that. Still shook, she starts remembering all the recent drama, looks down, and just goes quiet. They get to the place, and her colleague immediately tells her to get a shot of the front for the article. Jenny agrees to take the pics to help her coworker out. Inside the cafe, it's just a whole squad of super cute dogs, all different breeds from all over the world. Holding the camera, Jenny's legit thinking the dogs are adorable. While the brunette is chatting with the owner for the interview, Jenny is busy making friends with all the little puppers in the cafe. Suddenly, something catches our girl's eye, and she sees a little brown poodle clearly freaked out, growling and shaking while staring at something. Worried about the little guy, Jenny apologizes in case she scared him. She tries to get closer to the tiny poodle to chill him out, thinking the camera might have been what freaked him out. Then all of a sudden, some big old paws start walking their way. Jenny turns to figure out what had the little dog so scared, and she sees this massive English Mastiff just death staring them and growling. Our girl gets a full body wave of nope, because the danger vibe is real. Super slowly, Jenny stands up and starts backing toward her colleague, calling her name, Miss Jade. Thinking it's mad sus to have an aggressive dog in a dog cafe, she realizes she's in a bad spot. The dog's eyes are locked on her as it keeps growling. Then in a flash, the huge Mastiff attacks Jennifer, who lets out a blood-curdling scream. Jenny hits the deck after the dog latches onto her arm, freaking out everyone in the place, including her coworker. She's yelling for Jennifer, but a cafe worker holds her back like it's way too dangerous. The giant animal does not seem to want to let go of the girl's arm despite her coworkers screaming and cries of her help and the staff's yelling. Jade is begging someone to do something to get the dog off her new work buddy. Suddenly, some dude in bougie shoes strolls into the place. Jenny is fighting with everything she's got, not about to let this dog end her. All of a sudden, the huge dog lets go of her injured arm and she just collapses on the floor, totally dazed from the attack. Her coworker is screaming for her to wake up, while some employees are scrambling to find something to stop the wound from getting worse. In the background, other workers were already on the phone with 911. After that whole nightmare, Jenny started to black out. The whole situation felt super weird, but especially the fact that the dog, which went from total psycho mode, was now terrified of something. The massive English Mastiff is whimpering and shaking in a corner of the cafe while the guy in the pricey shoes walks over to Jenny. Our young protagonist is totally about to pass out. Just then, some dude in a suit starts walking up to her. She just shuts her eyes and everything goes black. Knocked out and totally messed up, Jennifer hears some dogs barking way off. She's freaking out and her brain hasn't even caught up with the whole nightmare situation. But she knows one thing for sure. The second that creep showed up, the dog started going wild. Our girl's thinking there's no way any dog would be cool with a monster hanging around, especially after all that messed up stuff. Zoning out, she realizes the dogs started barking at her at some point, like they thought she was a threat or something. The girl starts wondering if Samuel did something to her. And now, because of whatever he did, animals are totally sketched out by her. She's 100% sure that runaway freak wrecked her life and her home. It's like somehow the monster kid's last victim could hear her thoughts, and a voice in her head says his crazy vibe infected her, and she was next on the list. Luckily, Jenny's eyes snap open and she's safe. She's just lying in a bed, in some hospital room. It smells like Clean Freak Central and the walls are crazy white. It finally clicks for Jennifer where she is. Then she hears a voice she knows, and her aunt comes over saying her name. She feels awful for making them worry. Her aunt is like totally crying and tells her how relieved she is, admitting they were both freaking out because it took her forever to wake up. Jenny says she's sorry for the scare, and her uncle is all like work doesn't even matter right now, and that of course he was going to be there for her while she was hurt. The girl tries to sit up, but a crazy sharp pain shoots through her arm. Her aunt's like, "Whoa, don't move, you're not okay yet." That's when our girl sees the bandages on her right arm and hears that her uncle handled all the hospital and work paperwork drama. So now all Jenny had to do was chill. Feeling a little more mellow, Jennifer asks about her coworker Jade. Her uncle says Jade went straight back to the office when they got here. Apparently the girl felt super bad about everything that went down, especially since she couldn't stick around for when Jenny got out of the hospital. The girl was apparently a mess, apologizing a million times and telling Jennifer's uncle that she was the one who dragged her to the cafe and that it was all her fault she got bit. She begged the old man to tell our girl she was sorry. Jenny just touches her forehead and tells her uncle that it wasn't Jade's fault at all. And her aunt, who's still a total wreck over the whole thing, says the person to blame was the dog's owner. Then her uncle spills that the guy kept making lame excuses, saying his dog would never bite anyone. Jenny just smiles and tells her aunt and uncle to chill. I mean, she was okay and safe, right? Wiped out from the insane days, she thinks that the real reason for all this wasn't the dog, but some messed up thing connected to that monster kid who kept showing up at her house. All of a sudden, her brain screeches into a halt, and she wonders what happened to the mystery guy who helped her. Jennifer pushes herself up in the bed and asks her uncle what was up with the dude who showed up at the cafe. The old guy says, yeah, there was a dude who helped pull Jenny away from the psycho dog, but apparently he was just some random guy who showed up at the right time and saved her. Our girl really wants to thank him in person. Her uncle just shakes his head no, and says he asked a worker there if they could get in touch with him. But since he was a new customer, nobody knew anything about him yet. Jenny's super bummed about it and tells her uncle that as soon as her arm is better, she's gonna go back there and find out more about him. Low-key, Jennifer really wants to see him again. Our girl and her uncle just look at each other totally bummed about the whole situation, and Jenny makes a promise to herself to get out of the hospital ASAP. Just lying around made her feel like a useless doll. While the girl was getting better, the English Mastiff's owner showed up basically begging her to forgive him and saying how sorry he was. And that's when she finally got a lead on the mystery guy who helped her. The owner mentioned that besides the guy being seriously hot, his dog started acting super weird around him. Jenny's like, weird how... The dog's owner explains that the second the hot guy showed up, his massive mastiff started shaking like it was scared for its life. He keeps going, saying it's already bizarre that a dog that friendly would attack someone, but it's even weirder that the same dog just tucked its tail and ran. Jenny thinks back, remembering the dogs in her neighborhood that went nuts barking whenever the monster kid was around. But then they switched up and the animals were like foaming at the mouth, totally terrified. That's when it hits her that maybe, just maybe, the guy who saved her could be... So it's a sunny afternoon, and this white sedan is cruising through the city. The old aunt, just worried sick about Jenny, asks if she wants to crash at her and her uncle's place for a few days since she's still having a tough time getting around, but our girl politely turns her down, saying she doesn't want to be a pain. So then the lady asks her niece to at least call Moore to let them know how she's doing. Jennifer caves and agrees to call Moore, but she tells her aunt she wasn't even hurt that bad. Total lie. She just feels bad that her aunt is so worried about her. Jenny's mind flashed back to her mom's depression after her dad passed away way too soon. In the end, her mom was a total hermit, barely eating and just waiting for Jenny to get home. Her aunt was probably stressing that she'd end up the same way, and that's exactly why Jennifer couldn't let her see her being weak, like her aunt and uncle are literally all she's got left. They pulled up to her place. Her aunt handed her this huge bundle wrapped in brown cloth, and Jenny was like, "What's this?" Her aunt, being a total sweetheart, had already prepped some food to make her life easier. She told her there was even more, and to haul the stuff inside while she grabbed the rest from the trunk. Jenny kinda shyly thanked her aunt for being so awesome. Stepping inside, her brain went right back to how rough things were for her mom with the depression. Her aunt and uncle were so worried that she'd go down that same dark road. She unlocked her door, lugging the food to the fridge. But then, even in the crappy light, Jenny spotted these huge dude-sized shoe prints in the hall. Then she caught a whiff of this nasty, unfamiliar smell, and a major chill went down her spine when it hit her she wasn't alone. Pure panic mode set in. Samuel was just chilling on her sofa, asking where the heck she'd been. He was all, "Why were you gone for so long?" Super ticked off, he demanded to know what she was up to. Pissed, Jennifer told him to get the hell out of her house. You could see in his eyes he was shook by her sudden backbone. Fueled by rage, she told Samuel to bounce and go somewhere she'd never have to see his face again. Totally triggered by his own psycho behavior, the monster boy got crazy mad at Jenny's comeback and flashed his sharp teeth, looking like a total psycho. He paused for a sec and looked like he was sniffing the air for something. Then it clicked for Samuel. She smelled like a hospital. His whole vibe shifted in a second. And he's all, "You should have told me you were in the hospital," adding some weird crap about how humans get sick the second they get a break. Sticking to her guns, Jenny told him not to change the subject and was like, "Did you not hear me? Telling you to get out." Super cocky, he shot back like, "You really think you could make me leave if I don't want to?" She started seeing red, thinking he was acting like he owned the damn place. And this freak asks how a human like her has the nerve to talk to him like that. Samuel gets up and spots Jenny's aunt at the front gate, realizing that the other smell was her. Jenny rushed after him, telling him to back the hell off, and that he was not allowed to meet her. He turned to her with a smirk and asked if she really thought he was gonna do something to the old lady. Jenny, totally freaked out by where this was going, just froze. Then the guy asks which side of the family she's on, since she was apparently important enough for Jenny to hide from him. In her head, our girl was panicking, scared he'd actually hurt her aunt. Mustering up some courage, she said she wasn't telling him squat and yelled at him to get lost before she called the cops. Samuel didn't even flinch, just looked disappointed that after the lesson he gave her, she was still giving him attitude. Like, for real. The dude just shoulder checks her and tells Jenny that if she wants him to leave, she better get her aunt out of there ASAP because they still had stuff to talk about. Jennifer was fuming, thinking no way in hell was she putting her aunt in danger. She grabbed the doorknob. She yanked the door open and her aunt was right there. The lady gave her a warm smile and said she'd help her with her meds, and then Jenny could just crash. She offered to help clean up the place and prep some food for her. Our girl was feeling super sketchy about the whole situation thanks to that freak. She balled up her fists. Jennifer gently took her aunt's hands, telling her she could handle it, but the old woman was like, "No way you need help with that arm," and going on about how dusty the house was from being shut up for days. Her aunt gave her this super worried look. She firmly grabbed the lady's purse and explained that she was only saying this because she really needed some alone time. Then holding her aunt's bag, she basically asked her to leave. Jennifer just stood there and watched her aunt's white sedan pull away, knowing full well how much she'd just hurt her. Our girl wondered what her aunt had really wanted to ask her. I mean, her whole vibe just did a 180. She shut the gate behind her, totally rattled and with zero energy to deal with her emotions or any of this drama. With her hands shaking a little, she pulled a pack of smokes from her back pocket and lit one up. So pissed at how Samuel just waltzes into her house, treats her like crap, and tracks mud all over the floor, she knew she had to get rid of this dude like yesterday. She ducked back inside, feeling a little better knowing her aunt was safe. Samuel heard her tell him to get out, but totally blew her off and asked with this fake concerned voice why she was in the hospital. She took another puff from her cigarette and was like, "And why would I tell you that?" He shot her this nasty, sarcastic smile, saying she was pushing her luck and that he'd probably bounce soon. Hearing the psycho's creepy laugh, Jenny shot back, "What's so funny?" and told him she had zero plans of going anywhere with him. She was totally terrified. So the girl's worst nightmare totally comes true. She hears Samuel say it was hilarious that a dog bit her and put her in the hospital. She feels so gross for ever trusting that monster. She grabs for the bag her aunt left. For a sec, Samuel's distracted laughing at his own stupid joke. Then his eyes get huge, warning her something's coming right at her. And boom, the bag goes flying across the room and smacks the wall right next to Sam. Jenny, totally furious, just unloads on him, calling him out for all the messed up stuff he's done and how he has zero shame. Showing up after she was seriously hurt just to laugh at her. He's just frozen, totally floored by how mad she is. Screaming, Jennifer begs him to just finish it because she can't deal with his mind games and twisted behavior anymore. He starts walking toward her. Our girl is shocked by what he does next. The psycho's strong hand clamps around her delicate neck, holding her tight. He's fuming, demanding she beg for mercy, saying if she does, he'll pretend this never happened. Just as mad, she says she'll never beg a useless freak like him, and that he should have bounced from her house when she told him to. After she calls him useless, he drops the serious act and starts laughing like a total villain, saying that Jennifer had completely lost her mind. Then super violently, he lunges at Jenny and goes for her neck, and the girl, totally terrified, wonders if she's about to become a monster too, as she stares at him in horror. He tells her he's a direct descendant of some noble family, and that now she's supposed to worship him like he's her master. Then our girl drops a bombshell. This whole story happened back when she was still alive. Jenny's living room is a total disaster. The coffee table's flipped books are all over the floor, and there are stains on the couch and the rug. A guy in really nice shoes walks up to the girl on the floor. Theodore is just taking in the whole gnarly scene, and Mark, completely stunned, asks him what they're even supposed to do. Theodore says they have to take the woman to the Main family. They keep who they are a secret from society, this whole other species. They've got super strength, can heal from anything, and live for a super long time, all stuff that gets passed down in their blood. Their powers pretty much make them not human. They drink blood, but they can turn a human out of love in a process they call metamorphosis. The problem is this transformation hurts like hell. Theodore, freaked out by the girl's condition, is wondering what his brother Samuel was even thinking doing something so cruel. Metamorphosis is supposed to be this super special thing for couples who can't be together, but to just ditch the girl in that awful state. He scoops her up in his arms. The morning sun lights up a massive bougie mansion. A guy calls out for Theodore while he and Mark are checking on the girl lying in the huge bed. Theodore apologizes to the guy for calling him with no warning, but he was dealing with a legit emergency. Since they found the girl in a spot with traces of Samuel, they figured she was probably his companion. And because of how bad she looked, Theodore, keeping his cool, had to call the doctor immediately. The young brown-haired guy in glasses and a white coat is Timothy Esio, the family doctor who admits he never thought Theodore would bite a woman. Mark, hearing that crazy talk, can't believe the guy would think Theodore was capable of doing something so messed up, especially when it's totally something Sam would do. Theodore's thinking to himself that if anyone from the U family finds this girl, the whole political situation between the two clans is going to get completely wrecked. Timmy, checking out the girl's condition, figures she's been abandoned for a while and that she must have some serious willpower to have hung on this long. Our girl with bandages on her neck is fighting for her life. Theodore asks if that's for real, and Timmy confirms it. It's a huge surprise for all of them, but if they do everything right, the girl might actually pull through. Theodore's so relieved, thanks the doctor for the update. The young doctor keeps going, saying that metamorphosis is a crazy, painful process that literally changes your body's structure, and the purity of Theodore's bloodline was a huge factor in how much pain the girl was in. Mark, not knowing what to say to the doc's words, just stays quiet as he watches the older brother clean up the mess made by the younger brother who's basically been useless his whole life. While Theodore watches the unconscious girl in his bed, Timothy tells him to go easy on her, at least in the beginning. Jennifer is suffering from what the bite did, and the doctor recommends that Theodore should just hold her gently like he's trying to protect her. Theodore just nods silently, watching the girl. The dark-haired guy thanks them for all their help, and then tells his cousin Mark and the doctor to leave, telling them he'll handle the rest from here on out. The guys leave the room, leaving them alone. Jennifer, lying in bed, is barely breathing. Theodore takes off his jacket, pulls up a blanket, and gets into the bed, moving closer to our protagonist. He lies down next to the girl with a sad, far-off look, replaying what the doctor told him. While Jenny shivers a little, he gently pulls her closer. He holds her, not even sure if it'll help, and just thinks about all the bad stuff that happens to humans who get bitten by his kind. Theodore, worried, pulls the fragile girl closer, telling her everything's gonna be okay. His eyes are filled with sadness, seeing the mess his reckless brother left her in, and he realizes just how tough she is. In her mind, our main character is desperately running through a completely red world. She can't hear a thing. Trapped in her dream, she's running, looking for a way out. Then Jennifer hears voices, and in her nightmare, a black dog bites her on the neck. She cries thick reddish tears as a voice promises to stay by her side forever. The girl's eyelids flutter and she starts to wake up. When she opens her eyes, Jenny sees a handsome guy next to her, totally clueless about where she is. And the guy tells her it's not what it looks like. Wiped out from everything that happened, the girl asks Theodore why she's there, and he watches her nervously, telling her that her body needs to be close to his. Jennifer thrashes in bed, overcome by the agonizing pain from the bite. Theodore gently takes her in his arms, telling her to calm down and that she's doing great. But our main character gets a sudden chill and tells him something feels weird inside her. After being passed out for so long, she has no idea who the guy holding her is, and realizes that even breathing feels totally different. The dark-haired guy pulls the delicate girl closer, promising her that things will get better soon. Jenny, drifting off again, feels like her body is made of concrete. She can barely think, but Theodore, hopeful, tells her she's breathing much better, and that he'll be her caretaker during the metamorphosis. She comes to for a second and musters up the strength to ask if he's a doctor. What does metamorphosis even mean? Theodore then realizes that the act of metamorphosis forced on her by his brother Sam was way more reckless than he imagined. The woman's short hair, and offers to answer all her questions when she's feeling better. The guy sits on the bed, and as she starts to rest again, he tells her she needs his energy, and that he's going to hold her hand, scared that something might go wrong. He gently takes Jenny's hands. She then turns to him and asks if he was the one who saved her. He gives her a sweet smile. Fading out again, she uses the last of her strength to tell him her name is Jennifer, and he tells her to just rest and that they can talk tomorrow. He gives the young woman's hand a gentle squeeze, telling her he'll be there the second she wakes up. A guy is waiting silently in the hallway. Something catches his attention, and he hears footsteps getting closer. The sound is coming from some fancy high heels attached to a pair of elegant legs walking across the wood floor. A classy woman in a gorgeous outfit with pink hair and wine-colored eyes greets the guy, calling him by his full name, Kyle Seo. The young guy is totally intimidated by her because she's Miranda Seo, one of the most beautiful and intimidating secretaries from a lesser branch of the family. She asks the young guy if he knows why she's there, and he starts to answer slowly. She puts her hand on his shoulder, totally trying to scare him. Leaning in closer to Kyle, the woman tells him it's her duty to be there to check on the metamorphosis of the human who just showed up, while he just stares at her nervously. The inner clan is the branch that represents the women of the family where the matriarch lives. Not only are there very few of them, but it's also a huge taboo to disrespect any of the women from that branch, and the power Miranda has is way more than just a secretary's. Kyle can't go against her, and the woman giggles, telling him how eager he's gotten. Finally, someone else shows up, getting Miranda's attention, making Kyle super relieved he's not alone with her anymore. Mark, the cousin we saw earlier, comes down the hall carrying a tray with some fancy wine and cheese slices, and the guy tells them both he was busy. Miranda, pissed about being interrupted, says he looks just as annoyed as always with that same old look on his face and reminds him that she has duties too. Kyle is shocked as he watches his brother Mark tell the young woman that if she has time to mess with his brother, then she has time to sort that pile of paperwork back home. The young woman thinks for a second, but then claps back, that if the human is already going through her metamorphosis, she'll be her responsibility soon anyway. So, what's the harm in checking on her before she wakes up? Mark says there's no problem with that, since the only thing that could get any worse are the rumors. Giving him a dark look, she says that Mark really knows how to push people's buttons. Kyle is terrified by the change in Miranda's face, and Mark just gives in even though he hates how pushy the secretary is being. He sighs and finally lets her go with him into the room just this one time. Mark turns to head to the master bedroom and tells Miranda that if she even dares to bother the young woman, he'll throw her out immediately. She kinda huffs as she flips her hair back and follows Mark. As he walks to the room, the guy thinks to himself that even with Miranda's power and importance in the family's female line, he would never let her in. But he didn't have time to deal with her whining, because thanks to Samuel's cruel screw-up, the clan leader Theodore was personally overseeing the young woman's metamorphosis. Mark, freaking out about his boss, realizes the dude hasn't eaten a real meal in days because he's been laser-focused on this girl. The man, fuming in his head, wonders how long Theodore is gonna keep cleaning up the messes his little bro makes. A scream rips through the massive hallway, leaving Mark and Miranda totally frozen with no clue what was going down. He shoves the tray at the secretary and bolts, trying to see if something happened to the clan leader. Mark slams open the master bedroom door, yelling to see if Theodore's cool. He's frozen again by the scene playing out in front of him. Theodore was holding Jennifer in his arms, and the girl was just trembling, shaking all over and making these wild guttural sounds. In agony, she throws her head back and just starts screaming. Miranda, terrified, just stares at the gnarly scene. Then she clocks that Dr. Timothy just rolled into the room. Tim, the young doc, rushes across the room to help and tells them to get the girl on the floor so he can check her out stat. Theodore, his cousin, asks if she's getting weaker or something, but the doc says she's going through a full-on transformation. But since Theodore was right there with her, there shouldn't be any major issues. All of a sudden, Jenny starts twisting around in this super creepy way while Theodore gently tries to hold her down. Miranda, totally freaked by what's happening, shuts her eyes and turns away. Dr. Timothy, looking worried, says she must be in a world of hurt. But Theodore, looking kinda relieved, just holds the girl and tells everyone to bounce. With a serious look. Theodore lets everyone know he's got this. Then he puts his hand over Jenny's stomach and this weird focused energy starts flowing out. The doc sees she's finally chilling out and is like super relieved she's not freaking out anymore. Jennifer totally crashes in Theodore's arms. It's actually a pretty sweet scene, not gonna lie. Mark and Miranda are just standing there, high-key awkward, watching this whole tender moment go down. Kyle, who saw the whole thing, is worried about the big boss and shyly asks him if he wants to grab a bite. Theodore's tucking Jenny in and is like, seriously guys, can you bounce so she can sleep? But everyone's bugging him about eating. Timothy, fine whatever, and starts to dip. Mark grabs the food tray from Miranda and tries again like, dude, you gotta eat. This whole glow-up Jenny's having is draining you too. Theodore just gives this sweet little smile. He's holding this massive cup, takes a big gulp of wine, and while checking on the sleeping girl, he's like, so, why is Miranda here? He's gently petting Jenny's hair and is like, I don't remember inviting the secretary. And then he gets all serious like, since when can just any rando from a junior branch waltz into the main rooms? Miranda is totally shook and starts stuttering, but Mark jumps in to save her. He tells Theodore that after Jenny's big change, Miranda's supposed to be her handler and she just wanted to meet her and check the vibe. Miranda's like, whoa, Mark's got my back. Theodore, who's looking totally wiped, is like, for the last time, everyone get out of the master bedroom so I can focus on her getting better. Miranda, feeling mega awkward, makes her excuses while the others are already heading out. They're walking down this bougie hallway and Miranda thanks Mark for covering for her back there, and he just replies, I was just repeating what the girl said, which makes her instantly wish she hadn't said thanks. Seeing they're alone, Miranda spills the tea to Mark, saying that the big boss must be totally down bad for that girl. The way Theodore was all gentle and caring with her, Miranda was like shook for real. Like she's never seen him look at anyone like that before. Even with all the drama, he was giving Jenny his full attention. Then Miranda finally admits she's like low-key jelly of Jenny. Mark's like, no way Theodore's not in love. But in his head, he's blaming this whole mess on Sam. Cut to this fancy bedroom, sun streaming in. Jenny's still going through her whole transformation thing, sweating and gripping the sheets for dear life. She remembers when her fever was spiking, she kept hearing this song on loop in her head. It was the same one Samuel was singing that afternoon. Our girl's wondering if that monster kid is gonna show up again. Like wasn't ripping her neck open enough for him. She cracks her eyes open when she hears a new voice ask if she's finally coming back to reality. She looks over at the mystery dude who called her name. He's chilling in this crazy expensive armchair and starts reaching his hand out to her. The girl flinches back, totally scared like a reflex. But then plot twist, he just gently strokes her hair, which has Jenny all kinds of confused. This guy, who's still a total rando to her, tells her that her fever finally broke. He's being super sweet, petting her hair and saying he's glad she's awake. And for the first time in forever, our girl actually feels kind of peaceful. She reaches for him, noticing his voice is super soft, and touches his face like caressing his cheek. It makes him blush for a sec, and she's just thinking about how nice his voice sounds. As she's gently touching his face, it hits her that this is for real, not a dream. He shyly says her name. He leans in, and Jenny's hit with this major wave of feels, realizing she has no clue what she's even doing. Totally touching the dude's face. Super embarrassed, she's like, OMG, sorry, and says she was on autopilot, thinking she was dreaming about some random guy next to her. Theodore kinda awkwardly touches his own face and is like, oh, I thought you were hating on my 5 o'clock shadow. She's still totally out of it, not remembering a thing since she passed out. So Jennifer's like, where am I and who are you? He just lays it out that he brought her here right after she blacked out. He sighs, telling her memory's probably shot because of how much it hurt. But he tells her not to sweat it, everything's cool. Finally, he introduces himself, saying his name's Theodore Seo, and that this is his crib, and that a whole 10 days have gone by since she got hurt. Surprised, the girl bolts upright in bed, totally shook that she's been out for that long. Meanwhile, he's just chilling in this bougie armchair. Theodore confirms that she's been laid up this whole time, and that's when she remembers her family and is like, oh crap, I gotta hit them up ASAP. Theodore just gently taps her shoulder. He tells her to chill, that her uncle already knows what's up and that she should just vibe and focus on getting better. She's confused and starts to ask how, but he just holds up a hand and is like, my bad, I had to use your phone to tell him. He says he's sorry if that crossed a line. Theodore just asks her to hang in there until her treatment's done. As he's saying this, he's tucking her back in with the sheets. She lays back down, thinking that this dude really doesn't seem like a bad guy. While he's covering her up, Theodore says she's probably starving and offers to go whip up a snack for her. He heads for the door, and she just watches him go. Jennifer's feeling some type of way of vibe she can't even explain. He grabs the doorknob, and she's thinking about how her heart totally starts racing whenever he's around. She puts a hand on her chest, just soaking in all these new feelings. Right before he walks out, Jenny calls his name like, wait, totally blushing. She's like, nah, I'm not hungry right now. He just gives her this sweet smile and asks if she's freaked out about being alone. She tries to play it off, but she's totally blushing, and just admits she has no clue why she's being so weird. Before he dips, she asks him, wait, who even are you? Theodore looks over at her and says he's Samuel's big bro. Jennifer just goes quiet, probably trying to process what he just said. Without really reacting, she asks if he's got a smoke she can have. He instantly pulls one out of the pack. He's like, yeah, for sure, and puts a cigarette on her lips, adding that he hopes she's cool with his brand. Theodore flicks his lighter and says he hopes she likes it. Taking a long drag, Jenny's like, appreciate it. She looks up at him and realizes he's just like staring at her. The guy, looking all surprised, says that even after taking care of her for 10 days, he never guessed the first thing she'd ask for when she woke up would be a cigarette. Staring off into space while she smokes, Jenny asks if his idiot brother ever even asked him to come save her. Theodore just says no, explaining he was looking for any sign of Samuel and just stumbled upon her by total chance. Without dropping the cigarette, Jenny's face twists in pain, and in her head she's like, knew it! That psycho monster totally ditched me and left me for dead. Snapping her out of her dark thoughts, Theodore holds out an ashtray and asks if she wanted Samuel to have called for backup. She apologizes to Theodore, telling him she knows it's messed up to talk smack about his brother, but that she is 100% glad that Sam bounced. With a sad vibe, Theodore tells her she has nothing to say sorry for, and that this whole mess was his reckless brother's fault. In fact, he admits he's the one who should be apologizing. Jenny, totally over it, tells Theodore he might as well just spill the tea already. Sitting up in bed, she tells the guy that she is terrified Samuel's gonna roll back up and hurt her more, since the dude has zero chill and she'd hate to have to forgive him or whatever. Theodore gently touches her face. Looking straight into her eyes, he promises her that's never gonna happen. After all, like he said before, the whole reason he brought her here was to keep her safe. Jennifer's eyes totally light up. After he says that, he keeps watching her, not even trying to hide this faint red glow in his eyes. Someone's flipping through pages on a clipboard. Theodore's holding some papers sitting next to Jenny on the bed. But even with all the guy's nice words, Jenny is feeling super sketched out by this whole situation. Theodore seems like some crazy busy businessman with a ton of stuff to do. And yet he hasn't left her alone for a single second. She admits she totally thought he was capping when he said he wouldn't leave her side during the whole metamorphosis thing. In her head, she realizes that whenever he's not around, the pain comes back and she starts having full-on anxiety attacks. Still lying down, she tries to get his attention while he's zoned out flipping through the clipboard. She reminds him they said her recovery would be done in another 3 days and asks if there's a cheat code to get better faster. Theodore then asks her if that's what she's asking for. That's because she's weirded out by him. He keeps going, asking if she wants him to move her to another room. Jenny, totally red in the face, just says the bed is super lumpy. But he's like, for real, you can be honest with me. She reminds him he said they had to stick together, and he's like, yeah, and because of that, I gotta pop in and check on you every so often. Out of nowhere, Jennifer just grabs his arm. Theodore tells her that at first he was kind of worried seeing how young and fragile she seemed, but she's obviously way tougher than he gave her credit for. Then she lets out a sigh, telling him he talks like a total grandpa. He admits to her that he's way older than she thinks, and that he's the one who raised Samuel when he was a kid. Jennifer is like shook trying to process how a psycho like Samuel got to be raised by a super nice guy like Theodore. Theodore keeps talking and tells her their age gap is probably around 12 years, since his kind lives for like ever. He can totally tell Jenny's mind is blown by all this new info. So the girl starts trying to figure out what made Samuel such a jerk. And Theodore just straight up tells her it's because Samuel was spoiled rotten his whole life. High-key rattled Jennifer listens, as Theodore tells her everything that happened to her is his fault. He watches her super closely as she tells him that because of him, Little was able to save her life. Theodore throws the covers off to get up and tells her, it might suck to hear, but it's the truth. Meanwhile, she's thinking he's gotta have some secret master plan or something. So the guy holds his hand out to her. All polite, Theodore asks Jenny to take his hand so he can walk her to another room, and she can't help but notice how sweet he's being. They start walking down the hall, and after being stuck in bed for 10 days, the girl is walking all wobbly, clinging to his arms. Even with the comfy slippers, every step is a major struggle. Leaning on Theodore's steady arms, Jenny realizes she can barely stay upright, and it feels like she's not even in control of her own body. The guy who notices everything asks her if her movements feel kind of fake, and then he tells her she looked like she was thinking exactly that just now. The girl fires back that she had no clue his kind could read minds. He tells her that sounds like something straight out of a movie, while she's thinking to herself that dudes like him and his whole clan are basically a blockbuster movie. But he promises her she doesn't have to worry about turning into one of them, and that, yeah, her body is gonna go through some changes to get stronger. She just sighs and tells him he's trying way too hard to sell her on the perks of becoming a monster. He's like, well, I kinda have to if you call having a body that lives longer and barely gets sick being a monster. But with Jenny, it was a whole different story. She stands her ground, telling him his brother bit her, and because of that, she wasn't human anymore. Like, what else was she supposed to say in her head? Jenny figures if this whole metamorphosis thing was actually good, Samuel would have never just bitten her for kicks. He was legit trying to unalive her. Theodore just looks at Jennifer and asks her to please for real trust him. They just stare at each other for a sec, and Jenny feels her face getting hot. He leads her to a new room. Jenny's thinking, I so should not trust this guy, he's literally the brother of the monster who did this to me. But even so, she's still caught up in this whole thing with him, and asks if that's the real reason he's been taking care of her. Glancing around the room, Theodore asks the girl what she's getting at. She crosses her arms totally closed off, and says he brought her here to protect her, and she's asking if that's the real deal. She asks the guy, how is she supposed to believe he won't just flip a switch and turn psycho like his brother? He listens to every word, his face giving nothing away. Jennifer, totally terrified, hears Theodore tell her that she's part of the clan now. And since he's the head of the fam, it only makes sense that he's the one looking out for her. He also adds that he wants to apologize for Sam. The girl's eyes go wide when he says that. She completely loses it, yelling in his face that he knew what Samuel did, and that a simple sorry isn't going to fix anything. While Jennifer's screaming, a sharp pain shoots through her neck. She starts to collapse, and Theodore yells her name, trying to catch her before she hits the floor. Jenny feels like her neck just got sliced in two, and Theodore tells her not to overdo it since she's not fully healed yet. He tells her to grab onto his arm. All of a sudden, Mark bursts in looking worried about Theodore. With just a flick of his hand, Theodore shoos his cousin away, telling him to get out while he's holding Jenny. Theodore, looking totally crushed by how bad she's doing, says he's sorry over and over again. The girl's mouth is open, but no words come out, like she's gasping for air. He pulls her in closer and tells her that from now on, she'll only see him if she's in serious trouble. Theodore makes a promise while Jenny's brain is still trying to compute this whole clan thing, which feels totally unreal. But everything shifts the second that guy touches her. And then she thinks, man, this would be so much easier if he wasn't so freaking nice to me. A little while later, Jenny's just chilling on a wooden swing in the garden on a sunny day. Now, our girl is like a whole new person now. Her big expressive eyes and long hair blowing in the afternoon breeze are a total glow-up from the sad, shaken girl we met at the start. Just vibing on the swing, she's thinking she never would have guessed a garden this huge was at this house. She also thinks the room she's crashing in is way too big for just one person. Jennifer's kinda wondering if Theodore set all this up just for her. She glances at her arms, noticing they're totally clear of scars since her surgery. Peeping her delicate hands, she's like, is this because of the metamorphosis? New place, new hands? After the big change, her whole body was different. Jennifer feels like she's playing a totally new character. The second she was stable, Theodore got yeeted from her side by his secretaries to go do work stuff. And just like that, Jenny was the only one left in that massive house. She's holding some dress, trying to chill, thinking, since Theodore bounced, she might as well relax. But of course her mind drifts back to him, and when he was taking care of her back when, she still couldn't really process what had happened. Remembering his touch, Jenny realizes his kindness and caring vibe low-key got to her before she even noticed. Jennifer, clutching this delicate white dress, realizes how bad she wants to believe he's a genuinely good dude, and won't just flip a switch on her. But at the same time, a major cloud of doubt rolls in when she thinks about his sketchy younger brother Samuel. That jerk completely upended Jenny's life. Just thinking that Theodore and Samuel are from the same family makes her both furious and scared. Deep down, she's terrified of Theodore. She's snapped out of her thoughts by some girl's voice, saying it looks like she's feeling good enough to walk around. Jenny's wondering who this random chick is, since she thought she was totally alone in the massive garden. To her surprise, Miranda gives her a friendly smile. Miranda then asks what she thinks of the garden and introduces herself as part of the Stowe fam. Jenny, though, is still sketched out by this girl popping up out of nowhere. Miranda looks at her, but now her smile is way more mysterious. Jenny clocks the vibe shift and just stays quiet. The pink-haired girl holds out a hand to Jennifer, inviting our girl to come see her room, saying she has a ton of stuff to tell her. With her hand still out, Miranda tells. The super creepy silence in the dark room gets shattered by these wet, sticky chewing sounds. The girl's hand basically deciding to just go with the flow for now. They start walking through the family's giant mansion, and Miranda asks her how she's feeling. Jenny says she's doing way better. The girl then spills that the first time she saw her, Jenny looked like she was about to kick the bucket. It then clicks for Jennifer that Miranda must have seen her while she was thrashing and screaming her head off. Miranda admits it was her first time seeing a metamorphosis go down, and now she knew what to expect. Super uncomfortable with the topic, Jenny finally gets why the girl was staring her down so hard out in the garden. Miranda shows her to her room, telling Jenny she uses it as an office, and really went all out on the interior design. Jenny sees this sick room with white armchairs and shelves packed with books. Our protagonist is blown away by how bougie the place is, and wonders if everyone in this family is loaded. Miranda tells her to sit and says she'll grab some coffee. Jenny plops down in one of the white armchairs and asks Miranda what she wanted to tell her. Pouring coffee, Miranda says she just wanted to cheer her up. I mean, a metamorphosis isn't exactly an everyday thing. Miranda hands a cup of coffee to Jenny, asking if she was surprised. But our girl keeps her cool, saying it's in the past and her job now is to figure out how to live from here on out. In her head, Miranda's thinking that while most people would be losing their minds, Jennifer is being super chill about what happened. The elegant woman tells Jenny she's sorry, that she got bitten by someone so reckless. Jenny doesn't get who Miranda is talking about at first, but when she hears the name Samuel, she literally freezes with the cup at her lips. Laughing elegantly, Miranda reveals that the clan has a lot of not-so-nice names for Samuel. Jenny puts her cup down on the table, repeating the name Samuel Co., and tells Miranda that apparently everyone has been apologizing for what that monster boy did. Feeling bummed, Jenny then thinks that despite it all, Samuel probably couldn't care less about what he did. Awkwardly trying to change the subject, Miranda tells her that normally their kind is calm and gentle with a few bad apples. Getting all friendly, the chic woman advises Jenny to forget everything Samuel told her. To help, she offers to clear up any of her doubts and explain anything she's curious about. Jenny asks her what could possibly be cleared up after all this craziness. Miranda pulls a white card from her red wallet. She slides the card over to the girl on the other side of the table. Jennifer glances at the card and realizes it's a lawyer's number. Miranda cracks a sweeter smile, asking if Jenny trusts her now. The two girls just stare at each other in the gorgeous room. Miranda is the one who breaks the silence, rolling up and introducing herself to Jenny as the go-to lawyer for the ladies, then casually dropping that the CO fam has like 47 legal eagles and 59 doctors on call. Jenny's just staring at the card, totally confused, wondering why this lady was giving her the whole family resume. Jenny just sighs as Miranda keeps going, saying that even though she already gets it, they're a whole different breed who don't really vibe with normal human common sense. Then out of nowhere, a loud noise makes Jenny jump. And legit out of thin air, Miranda whips out this giant whiteboard, offering to give her the full 411 on their kind. Miranda's all, Jennifer, you have so much to learn about us. But Jenny's still feeling super sketched out by all this new stuff. The woman tells Jenny to ditch the idea that they snack on humans just because they're built different. Miranda keeps going, like for real, we work for a living just like normal people. We're part of society with regular families. Jennifer's thinking, super annoyed that in another life the jerk who bit her could have just been her weird next-door neighbor. Miranda continues her little TED talk, telling her that they're not some flesh-eating monsters or vampires. For instance, Theodore Seo, or Mr. President as he's called, handles the money and works in finance for a construction company. And Jenny gets it, he's the head honcho of the family. Then it clicks that even Samuel Seo had a normal 9 to 5. Miranda tells her he works at a company that specializes in imports. His whole gig is bringing cosmetics, makeup, and perfumes into the country. In her head, Jenny's like, oh, so that's why he bought a boatload of makeup and perfume that time. Jennifer asks Miranda if the lecture is finally over, and Miranda turns to her looking totally offended, asking if it was boring. But Jenny's just like, nah, I just want to go home. Miranda thinks for a sec, realizing that even though Jenny's life just got totally flipped, she's not asking big questions, just holding a grudge and acting super uninterested, like she couldn't care less about what happened to her. Trying to hype her up, Miranda says, yeah, for sure, we'll send you home, but only after you get the lowdown on us, so there are no future freakouts. Miranda hands her a black binder, since Jennifer seemed to be adjusting to her new reality pretty well. After the whole transformation, she expected Jenny to be a total mess, but she seemed chill and in control, like someone who keeps their feelings on lockdown. Jenny gently takes the binder from her. When she opens it, she finds a white envelope and a stack of business cards. Thinking, what the heck is all this? She pulls a fat stack of cash from the envelope, totally shook by how much there is. Baffled, Jenny asks Miranda if the money is some kind of hush money for the drama Samuel caused. Miranda shuts that down and tells her it's an emergency fund. Pointing to the binder, she says that all those cards are her new emergency contacts. Besides lawyers, there are doctors, cops, and people in all sorts of fields. The woman adds that their bodies have this insane healing factor, and most wounds just fix themselves. But since she was originally human, it might take a little longer for her. Thinking about it, Jenny remembers that Samuel's injuries did heal crazy fast. Miranda keeps explaining, telling her that different kinds of injuries need different recovery times, which is why the family has so many doctors in all these different specialties. Thinking about Timothy, our girl realizes they need a whole medical squad just to clean up the messes the family members make. Closing the new binder. Jenny thinks back to the night she met Samuel, realizing that if she had called the police, they would have treated her like she was totally nuts, and none of the right steps would have been taken. She shivers, remembering how Samuel said they might have even, made her disappear. Miranda is surprised by how Jenny is just taking in all this info so calmly. I guess anyone else in your shoes would have already run to the authorities. And then agrees. So I guess there's no need to wipe your memory. Jenny just watches her silently. After spilling all the tea, the woman officially welcomes Jenny. Now she's part of the clan and she knows everyone has her back. But Jenny claps back that what she really heard is that they all expect her to have their asterisk back. Pointing to the binder again, Miranda doubles down, saying that all the people on those business cards are allies who are on her side. She finishes her speech by saying that because they're family, they don't get paid for their help. And Jenny's just like, okay, cool. Miranda looks at the girl who's still sitting and says, you're one of us now. Isn't it like totally obvious we'd all help each other out? Jenny mulls over her words, especially family. After her dad died, she never really got any of that warm and fuzzy affection. And her closest relatives, her uncles, just treated her with a ton of pity. Even though family is supposed to be this amazing thing for most people, for our girl, it was a word that only brought her pain. Jenny asks if this help that Miranda mentioned was the same kind of help Theodore had given her. She thinks on Jenny's words for a moment. The woman, totally stoked that Jenny finally asked a question, tells her that Theodore has that dangerous but I'm curious vibe, doesn't he? Miranda explains that he's the head of the whole family, and the mansion they're in is all his. Jenny. So she's kind of hesitant and asks Miranda if they have like a family tree or something. Then Miranda just points to this huge chart on the whiteboard with a ton of branches saying, duh, this family's lineage is over 1,000 years old. While Miranda's explaining that the head of the family is basically the protector, Jenny's mind randomly connects the idea to a lion. Miranda keeps going, saying that only the person with the most legit direct bloodline in the clan can become the leader, kinda like royalty. That's why any order from the head honcho is top priority. It's so serious that if the boss ordered them to throw down, their whole crew would take each other out until no one was left. Jenny just blurts out that Theodore doesn't seem like the type of guy who would give those kinds of orders. But Miranda warns our girl that he's probably only being chill with Jenny, because if he wanted to, Miranda herself would have been unalived by now. She keeps going, saying that on days when he's actually mad, he can literally make clan members pass out just with his intense vibes. Compared to other clan leaders, he's on a whole other level of strong. Jenny is totally freaked out by this new info, completely shook, but also amazed to find out there are more of them out there. Miranda tells her that Jenny will get to meet them soon. After all, they're basically everywhere. Super proud of her little info dump. Miranda ends their little chat, totally satisfied that she just schooled Jennifer on a bunch of new stuff. Smiling, Miranda admits she got way ahead of herself and forgot to give Jenny a proper welcome. Jenny listens completely floored as Miranda congratulates her for leveling up from being a regular human and officially becoming part of their clan. You can totally see the sadness in our girl's eyes, and she's clearly stressed about what's coming next. On a gloomy day, the sky is filled with heavy clouds. Theodore is just silent, staring out a big office window. Lost in thought, he figures it's gonna rain again soon. As he sits down at a table, his cousin Mark pops up beside him. He reports that there was a fight yesterday between some of the younger guys and members of the Yu family. Even though it wasn't a huge deal, they found some signs of vandalism. Theodore asks him what the Yu family's reaction was. While Theo lights a cigarette, Mark tells him they've been completely silent. The head of the Co family thinks about how there's drama with the Yu family literally every day. The Co family is on edge because they've lost an heir. And at the same time, the Yu family is making a big scene over the villain who brutally took out their one and only heiress. He lets out a sigh and asks Mark how Jennifer's doing. His cousin says she seems to be fine and didn't have any major freakouts. Theodore tells him that he gets the vibe she doesn't trust them. Mark isn't really buying that. The guy is low-key worried that the president might actually be falling for the new girl. Mark asks Theodore if they would wipe her memory if she refused to get on board with them. Theodore stays quiet. Mark tells him that she's definitely got to be holding some kind of grudge against them. According to Miranda, even though Jenny listened to her without arguing, there's no telling if she'll actually go along with it. Theodore knows that Jenny almost kicked the bucket twice because of Samuel, and unless she's crazy in love with him, she probably hates his guts. Samuel was always a huge player, and even though he couldn't care less about the opposite sex, tons of women fell for him because of his looks and free-spirit vibe. Even the heiress of the Yu family fell for him hard and accepted the huge risk of marrying Sam. That human girl was probably no different. Samuel just used her and then totally ghosted her. Right before the girl's final moments, Theodore was the one who found her. In his head, he was thinking that two guys fighting over a girl was some serious soap opera level drama. For some reason, his heart kinda hurts. Suddenly, Theodore snaps out of his thoughts. Mark was telling him that he thought it was weird how much time Jenny had spent with Samuel. Doing some quick math. Mark tells him that if they count from the day Sam took out a boatload of money, they had been together for at least a month. But if they traced the timeline back from that horrible day, they could guess that Sam hadn't seen the girl for just a month, but more like at least 3. Theo gives Mark a confused look. Mark tells him his theory that the psycho used her house as a hideout since the place was kinda shabby and definitely not Sam's expensive style. He keeps going saying that no matter how bad Samuel's habits with women were, he wouldn't leave his tracks with some random chick. Theodore then asks Mark if Jenny was special, since she was with Sam, and he almost sent her off to the other side twice. Mark tries to defend his point even though he has no idea what Sam was really up to. They noticed that part of the money had been spent on women's clothes, perfumes, and makeup, which is totally not his MO. They both knew that no matter how you looked at Samuel, he was irresponsible and apathetic, especially with women. Besides hotels, he would never blow his money on human girls. He's just that type of guy. So theoretically, he would never drop a fortune on Jenny, and yet he did. Mark asks Theodore if Jennifer was maybe a girl of the night that Samuel might have actually liked and started getting involved with. Theodore gets furious with Mark's gutsy question and gives him a death stare. Right away, Mark regrets saying anything and remembers that cheating is a major, unforgivable sin in the Esio family. Tense about this situation, Mark tries to clean up his mess by telling Theo that maybe they had a deeper situationship than they thought. Theo just straight up cuts off his cousin, who's totally shook by the big boss's attitude. Already so over this convo, Theo tells Mark that no matter what, if Jennifer won't get on board, they'll just have to wipe her memory. Mark lets out a huge sigh of relief after that super awkward moment, but his mind is still spinning, low-key thinking that's a solid out. But for real, would Samuel just chill if they memory wiped her? The second he gets a whiff of Theodore on the girl he was crushing on, he's gonna totally lose it. It's not just Theo's scent on Jenny now. She's got his whole vibe, down to her soul. Mark's stressing, wondering if the top dog is even gonna be okay until all this blows over. Theo, who's clearly rattled, is like, when did everything get so messed up? Even though Samuel's just his half-bro, he basically raised him. And unlike when he was a kid and totally scared of girls, he grew up to be a total player. The number of girls Samuel actually dated is tiny compared to all the ones he had a one-night thing with and then ghosted. The thought of a dude like that actually settling down with one girl? Yeah, everyone in their circle thought that was impossible. Even for the gorgeous heiress from the Yu family. Samuel was a super intimidating guy, and after she passed, well, there's nothing left to say. Theo makes a dark joke, thinking they could have had their fairy tale ending after the wedding. He remembers wanting to shut down that whole marriage, but they seemed so for real about it, and Theo feels like he went soft on his bro. Then another one of his guys, his cousin Kyle, totally kills Theo's bad memory vibe and nervously tells him that the head of the Yu family, Sebastian, is about to pull up. Theo just silently blows out some smoke. Mark asks him, what's the ETA on Sebastian? Kyle's like, probably 10 minutes. Kyle adds that the receptionist went to give him the proper welcome. And in his head, the dude is thinking this is a ton of pressure and that Theo better have his A-game on. Mark looks at Theo and asks if they should, get ready. But the boss just says, nah, no need since they're still technically allies. Theo's mind flashes back to that messed up day he lost his sister-in-law and nephew. Startled, Kyle hears Theo's offer. They're gonna offer Eris's weight in gold, plus the arboretum in the province and the consular village with the hunting grounds on Jeju Island, and they'll give back the whole dowry. Mark, annoyed that his cousin is so shocked, gives Kyle a look that screams, shut up. Mark asks Theo what the plan is if even this crazy generous offer gets shot down because the younger generation has been pissed for a while. Theodore just says the Yu family is probably too busy dealing with their own rebellious young'uns. And they probably don't want a war in a country like this anyway. Mark, worried by that answer, says that if a war actually breaks out, the whole family would have to dip from the country for good. Theo, totally zoned in, just smokes his cigarette without a word. Mark is grinding his teeth thinking about the fallout from Samuel's screw-up, which is totally putting Theo in a tight spot with the other families. A sick house is surrounded by cherry blossom trees with petals flying everywhere. You hear confident footsteps heading for the house. The super classy Sora, the Seo clan's receptionist, is rocking a traditional Korean outfit as she greets Sebastian, the leader of the Yu clan. Sebastian Yu, looking all formal, rolls up with 2 massive bodyguards. Sebastian points out that they haven't seen each other in a minute, and the girl just nods. That's Sora, she's in charge of greeting the Seo family's guests. But don't let her looks fool you, cause even though she looks super young, she's a slick operator who's over 60 years old. Sebastian clocks that she's the one who handles all the outside business and formal greetings. There's 0 chance someone like her is gonna get intimidated by the head of the Yu family. The Seo family set up a bougie room for their important guests. Sebastian crashes on one of the couches to wait. A little later, Theodore, Mark, and Kyle walk in. Sebastian is giving them a major death glare. Sora uses the moment to serve tea to all the guys in the room. The lady with a sweet smile says it's chrysanthemum tea and hopes they dig it. Sebastian takes a sip. Theo does the same to be polite, putting the cup back down. The man thanks Sebastian for showing up. Sebastian says things got pretty disrespectful at the last meeting, and Theodore just calmly tells him the council's always a mess. So then Sebastian is like, I'm just gonna ask you straight up, why'd you call me here? Theo keeps his face serious and chill. He looks at Mark and gives him a nod to pass over a black folder. Theo hands the folder to Sebastian, who looks kinda surprised. He opens it up, checks out what's inside, and asks Theo if this is for real, like actual gold property. Theo starts his whole speech saying what went down was a total tragedy for both families, because they lost a newborn and the Yu family lost the respected heiress. So the weight of the situation is like way heavier for them. Theodore says he feels bad for the Yus, because if it wasn't for Samuel, she could have lived a way longer and happier life. However, Sebastian hits him with a spicy question. Had Samuel ever cheated during his marriage? Theo claps back that even though he lived a pretty wild life, his sister-in-law was actually super happy with him. Not letting it go, Seb tells her she thought it would take way longer for them to finally meet. Jenny's hesitant, but she takes the Theodore putting a hand on his knee is just like, nah. Looking up, Sebastian tells Theodore that word on the street is women who marry Seo men usually lose their minds and asks if that's legit. Theodore, totally on edge, is like, yeah. Kyle's just watching this whole thing totally bugging out, and then he hears Sebastian drop this bomb that there's gotta be something messed up in their bloodline. Mark jumps in, saying he totally crossed a line with that. Sebastian, looking pissed with his arms crossed, claps back at Mark, arguing that for 3 generations straight, the women go off the deep end after having a kid. And he's like, that can't just be a coincidence. The vibe in the room gets super dark and heavy, and the whole polite act between the two dudes is gone, replaced with some serious danger signals. Sebastian says he's not sure if they're gonna buy it. Just then Sora walks up and cuts in, telling the silver-haired dude that the young Rs was legit happy, and what happened was a total tragedy, not something you can pin on someone. The lady keeps going, telling him that the day before it all went down, the two of them were all lovey-dovey just waiting for the baby. Kyle's just watching all this go down, totally shook. He's thinking about how he can barely breathe around Sebastian's 2 bodyguards, and they haven't even flinched. The 2 dudes with the Yu family's head honcho are these huge buff guys with dead serious laser-focused looks. Next to Mark, Kyle's feeling totally stressed because, let's be real, he's way too much of a noob to be the right-hand man for a direct descendant. Meanwhile, his cousin picks up on something major. The other Yu family big shots are here, which is super weird because they're never gone for this long. He wonders where the heck Daniel Yu is. Tapping his fingers on the table, Sebastian says he's still not buying it since he and Theodore were against the marriage from the get-go. Theodore shoots back that they were only against it because at the time he didn't think they were a good match. Sebastian's like, so you admit you were against it? Theodore argues that what's done is done, and both families took a massive permanent hit, and whether Sebastian believes it or not. After it happened, Samuel was so messed up he completely lost it. Showing his fangs, one of the Yu clan guys gets all menacing and is like, so Samuel lost his mind and that gives him a free pass to mess around with a bunch of girls? The Yu clan guy keeps grilling Theodore, asking if he really thought they wouldn't find out about Samuel hitting up all those women's places. Laying it on thick, the guy tells Theo that Sam was hooking up with human girls to keep his real business on the down low. Sebastian holds up a hand and tells Yuri to cut it out. Theodore lets Sebastian take the floor. Clasping his hands, Sebastian tells Theodore he believes him, knowing the guy wouldn't lie. Looking totally pissed, Sebastian says that Samuel is an irresponsible dude who'd lie about anything to save his own skin. He tells Theodore that he messes with him and the Seo family, but Sam is a whole other story. Theodore just listens as Sebastian tells him that from this day on, Samuel is officially on the Yu family's hit list. Sebastian's voice gets all threatening as he tells Theodore that if there's no sign of Samuel, they'll just have to chalk it up as a tragedy for everyone. But if that's not the case, then just like what went down with his sister, they're gonna make sure he gets taken out. In her room, Jennifer hears the rain coming down and feels so bummed, thinking it means she can't go hang out in the garden. She just stares out the window at the rain. She thinks about how she used to love the rain, but now not so much. She remembers that she met Samuel on a rainy day when he just broke into her attic. To be honest, the girl never really bought that whole family story they were trying to sell her because the whole thing felt way more like a fancy protective prison. She was scared that if she gave even the tiniest hint that she wanted to escape, they would snatch her up immediately and do whatever they wanted with her. She sighs, thinking she's got to find a way to bounce from this place. Then she spots something. In her room, there's an old-school CD player. The girl reaches out to turn it on, hoping some music might drown out the sound of the rain. She grabs a small case of CDs but notices that they're all jazz, like only jazz with no other genres at all. Super disappointed, Jenny realizes this house has a very specific vibe. She gives the CD case a little shake, resigning herself to the fact that this family has some seriously old-fashioned taste. Music starts playing as she just stares at the raindrops on the window. The girl remembers what Theodore said. He asked her to trust him, but she's not sure if he's actually a good guy. She hugs herself, feeling totally alone, and gets mad at herself for even thinking about him, just because the music is nice. Jenny admits to herself, she low-key wishes he liked her. After a minute, she leans back in her chair and tells herself to just chill out. She realizes she is seriously craving a cigarette, but where would she even get one? Then Jennifer gets an idea. She's strolling through the super bougie hallways of the mansion. She pushes open the door to Theodore's room, cause she literally can't get him out of her head. Jenny's all mixed up thinking that this whole transformation thing must have totally fried her brain. She slowly cracks open the door to Theo's spot, which is kinda dim. Peeking inside, she sees he's MIA. She starts to creep into the room, and then something wild just hits her. The girl realizes that even though he's gone, Theodore's whole vibe is still hanging in the air, getting her all in her feels. Jenny just freezes like right in the middle of the room, feeling she was low-key, glad he wasn't the sharing type, and totally hyped that she'd snagged one for herself. After scoring what she came for, she slides the drawer shut feeling pretty slick. But for real, she's praying he doesn't notice one pack is MIA, cause dude was clearly a chimney. She starts to dip out of his room, leaving everything looking like she was never there. On her way out, Jenny's like, why even keep me here if I'm basically on my own? Jennifer flicks a lighter, ready to finally have that smoke. She blows the smoke out her bedroom window. But like something feels super off and she gets hit with this wave of nausea and dizziness. She's starting to wonder if this is all because of the whole metamorphosis thing. Seriously, all our girl wanted was one chill day. And yep, just as she figured whatever Theodore smoked was some seriously strong stuff. And while she's mulling that over, Jenny takes another hit. Then her mind flashes to Theodore's soft hands. The smell of the smoke is so intense that boom, Theodore's ghost-like figure pops up right in front of her, making her jump out of her skin. He's gently touching her lips, hoping she's digging the smokes. The memory is so vivid it snaps her out of the vision she was having. Without a second thought, she yeets the dead cigarette out the window. Slumped against the window frame, she can't figure out if she's losing her mind or actually catching feelings for Theodore. Meanwhile, somewhere else, we catch Theodore at a small table pouring himself some coffee. A mystery voice in front of him says it's been a hot minute since they've seen each other. Theodore, looking kinda spaced out, is just like, yeah. He rolls a cigarette between his fingers, listening to this woman say that maybe it's the rain, but the house is starting to have a pulse again. This classy lady chilling in an armchair asks Theodore if it's been, 4 years since they last met. Theodore nods and is like, heard you were at some summer retreat for a bit. But it looks like you didn't get any sun. The woman gives him this look, asking if she's still got it. But to Theodore, her question sounds totally sus, like it's dripping with poison. The dude stays quiet, sensing the whole vibe is off. Then he sits up straight and tells her to cut it out. And she, all shocked, is immediately like, cut what out? Theodore tells her to stop trying to pull humans with their species' weird powers, and she just shoots back that he's still such a buzzkill. Then staring down the woman in front of him, he tells her to skip the chit-chat and just say why she's here. Plot twist, it's Theo's mom. So in this world, the families that make up their species are obsessed with their pure bloodline. And because of that, each fam has an animal mascot. The U family's got the wolf, the Co family's got the lion, and the Young family's got the deer. And let's be real, the deer wasn't picked because it's weak, but because it's got style. This family was way more cold-blooded than the rest. Theodore's mom told him he's starting to look more like her side of the family. Her name's Emily Young, a straight-up descendant of the Young clan, and Theodore Co's bio mom. Cringing at her words, Theodore's like, you've got to be kidding me. But she just tells him to think back to the last-gen leader of the Young family, and how they were basically twinsies, both tall, hot, and refined, but also total loners who weren't afraid to get their hands dirty. Pointing at Theodore, his mom says that his broad shoulders and his whole build totally remind her of her big bro, the guy running the Young family now. He finally asks her what the heck she's getting at. As she pours herself another cup of coffee, his mom says he can't compromise for crap, and is obsessed with never letting go once he's sunk his teeth in. Looking right at her son, she tells him there's no one in the Co family who's anything like him. He clenches his fist, crushing the cigarette, wondering who he's even supposed to be like. Besides, what his mom wants from him is basically the default setting for everyone in their species. That need to own and crush their enemies. Cause their whole species pretends to be logical, but deep down they're just savage. The instincts of a wild animal. If it wasn't for that, even Theodore's own grandpa would have gotten taken out by his son. Theodore's super annoyed with where this convo is going, is just wondering why his mom is bringing all this up now. She doesn't seem to give a damn about the messed up stuff she's saying, and just sips her coffee. Theodore tells her straight up that there's zero chance he's anything like the Youngs. Emily claps back that you can totally see it if you compare him to that idiot son. Theodore's like, wow, you really still hate Samuel, don't you? His mom just gives him this unreadable smirk. Acting all high and mighty, she spills the tea on how Samuel is a total clone of his dad, a reckless, self-obsessed dude with zero brains. Basically a moron who only knows how to act first and think never. Theodore was already so over this conversation. Then his mom, acting all bougie, says she heard he got into some major drama because of Samuel, and that maybe this was her shot to cheer him up. He totally clocks the switch in her eyes. His mom gives him this intense, piercing stare. Desperate for an out, Theodore just shuts down her whole attempt to help. And she just lets out this smug laugh, saying how it's so not easy raising a kid. He sadly thinks, yeah, this is her MO, acting like he'd be tossed into a black hole if someone so much as breathed on her wrong. Flexing their species' powers just to mess with people and throw shade at the younger family's bloodline felt more like she was just testing Theodore. Maybe it was some kind of payback for what went down the day he was born, when she literally bit her own arm to keep from going completely feral and, save his life. Or maybe on that messed up day, she actually did snap for good. Losing his patience, Theodore asks his mom again what she's even doing there, and she just snaps, asking if that's any way to talk to his own mother, basically telling her to bounce. Totally annoyed, he tells her she's not the type to just drop by on a whim. Then out of nowhere, his mom hits him with, "I heard you have a girlfriend now," which leaves Theodore completely shook. Giving him major side eyes, she says she heard this girl was a human. He turned. Freaking out, he's wondering how that fake news got out, and even worse, how it reached the younger family. Pointing a finger right at Theodore, his mom's like, "No matter how much the family tries to keep their mouths shut, did you really think anyone could stop a mother from getting the tea on her future daughter-in-law?" They were so scared out of their minds they were spilling tea she didn't even ask for. Cutting off whatever Theodore was about to say, his mom goes full boss mode and says that for all those reasons he better introduce her to his new girl. Tense AF from this whole convo, he tells her the girl is his responsibility, and there's literally no good reason for them to meet. And just like that, a whole different person was standing there. Totally livid and giving him the evil eye, Emily glares at her son, practically growling that he was giving his own mother lame excuses, and asks if he even gets what metamorphosis means for their kind. But Theodore stands his ground even with his mom's psycho switch-up, telling her he's the girl's protector. And if anything messed up were to go down between them, he'd have no choice but to wipe her memory. Snapping back to normal, his mom is shook that her son would actually wipe the memory of the girl he's protecting. She kinda awkwardly asks if he's not into the idea of having a kid. With the low-key cough, Theodore tells her that even if the girl finishes the whole metamorphosis thing, she's still human and would never really fit in with them. Bummed by what her son said, she's like, "You have no clue what it's like to be in love." Theodore just says that stuff's not his thing, and she tells him the younger Seos are always a hot mess. Pretty much just chaos and insanity. She sips her coffee while Theodore processes the fact that the crazy literally runs in their family. It's like a blessing and a curse all at once. Zoning out, Theodore knows the younger family's bloodline is keeping her urges on lock for now. But nobody knows how long that's gonna last. With a super harsh tone, his mom asks if he's planning on keeping this girl around and just holding back her true nature. She goes on saying their kind can never escape their dark side since they're just born wild. Emily Young gets all creepy close to Theodore, asking if he's already, crossed that line with the girl. Without losing his cool, he tells her she's dead wrong. Then with some real power in his voice, stepping up like a boss, Theodore reminds her that he's not just the one in charge of the clan, he's the direct heir to the Esio family, and he has zero reason to pull shady stuff behind her back, especially stuff he's totally against. His mom, still fuming, forces her vibe of pure rage to chill out. With total sarcasm, she tells him that's not good enough. After all, a mother meddling in her grown son's love life is basically a parent's right. Drained from all the family drama, Theodore thinks that even though she's his mom, he has no clue how to read her. Looking totally wiped, he tunes back into what Emily's saying. Then doing a total 180, she drops the bomb that she's thinking about setting him up with an arranged marriage, which almost makes him do a spit take with his coffee. Theodore chokes on the hot drink and asks, who in their right mind would agree to that? His mom says it's the perfect wife for a guy like him. And we see this girl strutting in with killer heels and a long red dress. She's got these golden eyes and gorgeous blonde hair. It's Camille Jim's little sister. And that's a wrap for today, y'all. Hope you guys were living for that drama. So hit me up in the comments, should Jenny actually trust Theodore? Or is she walking right into another trap set by this shady clan? If you were in her shoes, what would you do? So for real, would you be down for this new life? Or would you totally spill all your theories and hot takes in the comments below? The series is called Fly Me to the Moon, and we just broke down everything up to chapter 21. And if you're dying for more, you know the drill, smash that like button and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next drop. Peace out and catch you on the flip side. A ginger dude is totally freaking out watching something go down, and you can hear the gnarly sound of bones snapping and flesh getting ripped apart by some chick on the floor who's going totally feral on something. The redhead puts a hand on his head like he can't even process the scene. That woman was literally eating her own newborn baby. She growls, flashing some seriously sharp fangs, and her face is a total mess. Then she gives this twisted little smirk like she's proud of it. And plot twist, this absolute monster was like 5 minutes ago the poor guy's wife. The dude just completely wrecked stares at the woman. He's clenching his jaw, giving her a look of pure hate. All while she's just casually licking her fingers clean after her messed up meal. The redhead is probably thinking, has she completely lost it? He's asking himself how a mom could actually be capable of eating her own kid. Then she starts to reach for something else in front of her. The guy is just raging at how cruel his wife is being, like the audacity of her just chowing down on their kid. The woman's eyes look totally vacant, and the guy tells us there's this legend that all the women who pop out direct heirs for the family go insane. He's grinding his teeth, just completely consumed by fury. A super bitter, sarcastic thought hits him. He'd always refused to believe that whack job legend could be real. The guy's hands start to clench up, morphing into these long asterisk claws. The woman, finally sensing her husband's murder vibe, snaps out of it and starts backing away terrified. The guy tenses his jaw, showing off his own fangs, and then just lunges with his claws. Totally powered by hate, he just ends things for the woman who used to be his wife. The second he's done, he hears footsteps. And of course, it's Theodore, the absolute last person the redhead wanted to see him in this state. Theodore just stares at his brother, and is basically like, So what's your next move? With a super annoyed tone, Theodore points out that his bro has to know what a huge mess he just made. The ginger just listens. Trying to keep his cool, Theodore is low-key panicking while coldly sizing up what his brother just did. The redhead is still on his knees in the middle of the crime scene, and he hears his brother remind him clearly ticked off that he just unalived a clan member. And not just any member, but his wife and the only daughter of the Yu family. Theodore just looks down, while the younger brother is screaming that it wasn't his fault that his wife was the guilty one, that she's the one. Bastian stares him down with those intense gold eyes, trying again to confirm if Samuel was stepping out on his wife.